Let's start with the basics. What's the goal of autotransfusion? The goal of autotransfusion is to return the highest quantity and quality of red blood cells to patients with the least amount of waste as quickly as possible. Take a look at what goes on inside an autotransfusion device. There are three categorically different methods of blood processing: passive cell salvage, which uses a Latham bowl, continuous cell salvage, and dynamic cell salvage, which is available only in the Autolog-IQ. Dynamic cell salvage uses algorithm-driven intelligent blood sensing to make micro-adjustments during processing in order to recover high-quality blood fast, automatically. How does it work? There are three things that distinguish dynamic cell salvage. First, there's the IntelliPath bowl. One bowl size works for most procedures. That may seem counterintuitive, but it's designed to work that way very effectively. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Autolog-IQ uses an adaptive two-stage fill process to get high hematocrit with less waste. It's a little like filling a soda glass. Pour it in all at once, and you know what happens. With the adaptive two-stage fill, the system does an initial fill. It pauses briefly to compact the red blood cells. Then it adjusts the second fill speed, slower for low hematocrit, faster for high. That way you keep more red blood cells and lose less into the waste bag. The third key feature is the pulse wash. See these little indentations? They are part of the IntelliPath bowl design. They disrupt the red blood cell pack during the wash, which helps optimize saline penetration for an effective wash cycle. The pulse wash makes the wash process more efficient by adjusting the saline volume, depending on the characteristics of the red blood cell pack. Each pulse volume is designed to help minimize red blood cell spillage. All this happens automatically. With the push of a button, you're providing high hematocrit and quality packed red blood cells for the patient with just one program. You might think that this intelligently calibrated process would be slower. Not so. The Autolog-IQ processing rate is approximately 3 minutes. Every now and then, you may have an exceptional case where you want to override the automated setting. No problem. Just press the setting you want for immediate override. The Autolog-IQ system consistently delivers high-quality blood product automatically. Simply genius.
The point-of-care program at Huntsville Hospital is approaching its 20-year anniversary. As we began to grow as a hospital and provide more complex services to our community, the need for point-of-care testing became very clear in our organization. Many of our departments consider the EPOT device to be crucial to their ability to quickly move their patients from entry to the hospital to procedural room. It helps them monitor the patient's status during their procedures and post-procedure, so it's very integrated into our entire continuum of patient care. If you have any patient population where blood management is crucial, then a point-of-care device is very useful in those types of settings. It can provide a quick result on a very small amount of blood, and that is really important in some of our patient population.
We are starting a new process where we're going to screen our patients on the floor for sepsis. The patient can look and actually feel okay. They will show us signs and symptoms of sepsis. So what we do when they show these signs, we get a lactate level.
Lactic acid is a product of the sepsis cascade. So with sepsis, the inflammatory light switch goes on, the cascade starts churning, and unfortunately, once it starts going, we have to stop it. It will not stop on its own. The faster the lab draw, the faster the lab results, the faster you can act on it.
The process in the lab is what the process is. It just takes a certain amount of time for the instruments to run those tests.
I mean, we're talking 30 minutes even on a stat because that's the process. That's just how long it takes. There's not really anything you can do about that. For every hour you wait to give an antibiotic, the mortality for that patient increases 8%. So now that we have the handheld device, the nurse can get those results within a few minutes, and we know how to treat that patient. If a patient is going into septic shock, we do not have minutes to spare. We have got to get it done quickly. So when you get the little beep from the epoch that says your results are in, you go with it. You don't even think twice about it. You're like, this is good. This is what I'm going to do for this patient. The next steps are clear.
I think our mortality on the initial floors dropped by almost 50% in the first 3 to 6 months. At this point, we're about hospital-wide. I think we'll be hospital-wide another 2 to 4 months. So this has become a huge program within our system.
Without the epoch device, it would really be hard for us to get everything done in the timely manner. So it's really helped us to get our program going.
I mean, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a medicine doctor, whether you're a dermatologist, you want to be able to do things in a timely fashion so that you can be most effective.
This really makes a difference in patient outcomes.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to day 3 of the New Orleans Conference 2019 online edition, the only true dedicated ABCP CEU program. I am your host, Joe Basha. So, we are all not physically in New Orleans, as you could probably tell, but we are going to bring you some of New Orleans to you through your computer. We have some music. We have New Orleans graphics, and we even have some beads. Okay, so this is year 13 of the New Orleans Conference, and we are here online. I remember our first year of the New Orleans Conference, a year post-Katrina, when we had only 23 participants, of which 13 were faculty, if you remember, at the Doubletree Hotel in New Orleans. Do you remember that? You were there.
I remember it.
Yeah. It was something. But we had so much fun. By year 12, we had over 230 participants, and we had honored some true titans of our field. We gave the Crystal Heart Achievement Award to Dr. Ochsner, Dr. Cooley, Dr. Bailey, Dr. Mack, Dr. Robachek, Dr. Richard Brodman, Dr. Webb, Dr. Bud Frazier, Dr. David last year, which was our last year. And man, these are and were some great people. And I feel so humbled and privileged to have had the opportunity to know each of them. Of course, we have recently lost Dr. Ochsner, Dr. Cooley, and just recently Dr. Bailey, and it is very saddening to me. But the conference, and moreover, their graciousness at our conference, was so unique and special, and is why we chose to award them. We have also had some great faculty, Dr. Blitz, Dr. Jones, Dr. Edwards, Dr. Trotter with his history lectures, Clint Robertson, Brian Cheatham, who survived Hurricane Maria down in Puerto Rico, Dr. Badia, Dr. Matoyer, an ethicist, PhDs, and a host of others, including General Honore, an FBI agent, and even a real-life mafia gangster 2 years ago in Las Vegas, which was a blast. It has been one hell of a ride. Now we are going to try and develop the MediWeb, PerfWeb, and PerfusionEducation.com online programs to match the uniqueness and quality you came to expect at our annual on-site conference. We have already started developing this studio that you see and streaming technologies that gives the program a professional and inclusive feel. We are also so appreciative that you have invited us into your homes, offices, or wherever you may be watching us from, and we are working very hard to bring you quality programming that is interactive and not only very informative and useful to you, but programming that is also enjoyable to watch and to be a part of it. We are the best, and we will continue to be the best. Now, this part is very important. We are on all social media platforms. Please like us on Facebook, follow us and share us on the Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can chat there also, which I'm monitoring currently. And also don't forget to click the bell notifications so that you receive notices of anything we may be doing new or just coming up. You can also call in when you see this announcement that the phone lines are open. Please wait until you see that announcement, and I'm monitoring the phone right here so you can also be live on the air with your questions or your comments or whatever it is to participate in the discussion. We are also recruiting faculty, so if you would like to be a part of our faculty or know someone that you think would like to participate and be a part of your revolution in continuing education, please have them email me at this address. And we are expanding to develop NurseWeb and Nurse CE programming for cardiac and critical care RNs. So please let your friends and colleagues know and have them reach out to me. Okay, so here is the schedule for day 3, and we have a great faculty. We have Dr. Hani Samir and perfusionist Bill DeBois, who's the president of AMSECT, going to be lecturing us today on telemedicine, the intensive care medicine physician, and also the future of our National Professional Society, AMSECT. Okay, so I think this morning's program is ready. I would like to, if I can, please introduce our faculty and I'll introduce our current faculty that's here in the studio, and Bill's going to be coming to us via Skype. So I can please start with immediately to my right is Dr. Hani Samir. He is the founder and CEO of HS Consulting for Telehealth, assistant professor of cardiovascular anesthesiology and critical care with Weill Cornell Medical College at the DeBois Heart and Vascular Center at Houston Methodist Hospital. He is an established and highly skilled physician with over 33 years of experience in critical and intensive care, cardiovascular medicine, anesthesiology, emergency medicine, and perioperative surgery, including transplant. He is well regarded in the Houston, Texas community, earning numerous accolades for his commitment to quality and patient-centered care. Dr. Samir is licensed in 5 states and is double board certified in critical care medicine and anesthesiology. He is an esteemed fellow of the Cardiac Renal Society and the American College of Chest Physicians. Man, I wish I could accomplish even a quarter of this. He is also active in the Extracorporeal Life Support, ELSO, Texas Society of Anesthesiology, Society of Critical Care Medicine, and the Society of Cardiovascular Anesthesiologists. Dr. Samir is published in the areas of mechanical circulatory support in severe shock patients, ECMO severe sepsis, perioperative LVAD management as destination therapy and bridge to transplant, postoperative bleeding management. We see a lot of that. Not so much with Dr. Matoyer, but we do see a lot of it. Acute hypertension management and postoperative aortic arch repair, and rapid reversal of anticoagulation and post-surgical complications. Dr. Samir is an expert in critical care as well as perioperative management, has been one of the first in the country to adopt and apply his expertise into telemedicine, the topic that we have for you today, which I think is going to revolutionize how perfusion manages ECMO patients. And I mean, there's no question in my mind, it is the future, in fact. This new and growing technology can be implemented into healthcare systems to provide and improve quality of care without compromising outcomes. And that's critically important. The future of medicine will be in digital platforms with medical innovations, and Dr. Samir has become an expert on how to incorporate these new technologies into medical facilities who want to transform their types of services to align with the future of healthcare. To learn more about Dr. Samir, please visit his LinkedIn profile, and it's on here. We need to put that later on. We'll add that in. So let's find that LinkedIn profile and publish that later on so that people can actually write it down, okay? And then immediately to Dr. Samir's right is Dr. Mark Matoyer. I know Dr. Matoyer very well. He's a cardiac surgeon here. He's the division chief at St. Luke's, the Woodlands, right? Cardiac surgery at the St. Luke's, and chief of staff. That's what I was trying to say.
Right.
At St. Luke's, the Woodlands Hospital. Thank you. He's from East Texas, and one of these days I'm going to do an interview with him and a couple of other cardiac surgeons, because he was supposed to be a chicken farmer. So I'm trying to figure out how he got from chicken farmer to cardiac surgeon, but we're going to work on that. He trained at the he went to Texas A&M for his undergraduate in medical school. And then he trained under Dr. Denton Cooley at the Texas Heart Institute, graduating in 2004. And he has built a tremendous practice up here in Houston, very innovative. He definitely will do a lot of different cases. He's very, 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 very well versed on ECMO and management of ECMO patients as well. For both pulmonary complications and for heart failure. And we're really proud to have him here. He was part of our very first faculty in New Orleans and has been with the New Orleans Conference for 12 years, or 13 years now. So I want to thank you so much for being here and appreciate that. Immediately to his right is Mike Brown. Mike Brown is a perfusionist who has been a perfusionist for the past 35 years. He has been here in the Houston area for almost the entirety of those 35 years. Where'd you go to college?
Baylor University.
That's right here. I have a thing right here. Mike Brown, they're 37 years. Diploma degree graduate of Texas Heart Institute School of Perfusion. He's done approximately 7,500 open heart surgeries during career. Wow. Presently, he is working with Houston Extracorporeal Technologies here in the Houston area. He is very active with ECMO patients at multiple clinical sites in the North Houston area. And I can tell you right now, if I go down, I want Mike there. He keeps the surgeons very calm. He is clearly a perfusion extraordinaire, no question about it. And immediately to his right is Mike Brodowski. Mike is he says North Louisiana, but he's from Southern Arkansas, really, because he's from Shreve Patch. Or Shreveport, I'm sorry. He went to Louisiana Tech. I'm assuming that's really a school. Wow. He has 23 years in medical device sales, and his interest is in remote surgery and medicine. And Mike is an entrepreneur and also a visionary, I think, in looking at what future trends in delivery of medicine is. So we're very happy to have him on the faculty as well. And then I'll introduce Bill later. But first, Dr. Samir.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you so much for coming here
Thanks
and
for having
taking
me.
your Sunday morning to be out here. We appreciate you so very much.
It's a pleasure, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
And this is a timely topic for us. So you have control of the slides. We can focus in on Dr. Samir, and we can go ahead and begin with the first lecture. I've talked myself out.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me here. First, I need to disclose my biases. My passion in life is cardiac surgery, and I'm an anesthesiologist. Some of my anesthesia colleagues probably will ambush me outside the building. I believe cardiac surgery is very innovative. And my passion in cardiac surgery is ECMO and MCS. I feel ECMO and MCS saves lives every day, highest level of technology. And I want to advance that more and more and see how we can help patients in a better way. I wish I had some financial relationship with Joe, but I don't. So every one of us goes to work every day to do our best. But we have some obstacles in front of us, and we're constrained by financial issues and like staffing issues. So we have to get around there. There's different ways of getting around there. We're going to talk about it. And you guys feel the comment, and tell me you're wrong or throw something at me. Anyway, all of us, well, I guess not all of us remember, but maybe the phone was the biggest thing. And we're going to little about the call-in shows for medicine. When you called in, told the doctor how you feel, and the doctor on air told you what to do about it. So telemedicine started from back then. And yeah, I mean, it is a form of telemedicine. You have to remember, not everything is high tech like now. Now, this is you guys. This is your thing, and you know your thing better than anybody else. People see ECMO, they get scared. I think ECMO is the best thing. You understand the simple concepts. It saves people's lives. It has a cost to it, but it does save people's lives. I know a lot of people that are alive and walking today because of ECMO. And I know the numbers are very dismal outside, but I do believe in it. And we have to come up with ways of monitoring it. And I was telling Joe, and he didn't believe me, there's some places that, and I'm going to use some fictional names. None of the names are real. But there's some institutions and hospitals will mandate the perfusionist being there watching the ECMO 24/7. Is that feasible? Do we have somebody like that available every day? Joe, do you have somebody like that available every day?
We make it, but it's very hard.
And it's very costly to have something like that.
Yes.
Now, here, look at that. Look how amazing your setup is on the left, and all kinds of pumps and everything. And this, believe it or not, Joe came to my house. This is my setup for telemedicine. I'm a very simple person. I'm not that smart. 2 laptops, okay, and my workspace. As compared to this huge setup, look at the cost here versus the cost here. But you can use that cost on the right on the bottom to monitor the cost on the left in a very safe way. And we're going to talk about how to do that in a very simple, safe way and economic, using a board certified attending to be your backup, to have any perfusionist call that attending for any help, and the attending will be able to arrange a team to go out to the hospital or arrange transferring the patient to a tertiary center. Again, I want you to look at the cost difference. Probably here's a couple of thousand, and on the left probably 50, 60, 70,000, 80, something like that. Again, and there's more sophisticated ways. You can get those, you can get your x-rays, you can get your echoes, so you can go from spending a couple of thousand, it depends how much money you want to spend, have a huge monitoring center. Now, huge hospitals, they have big innovative centers. So you can have a big center like that, where you're getting your x-rays, your echoes, your CAT scans, everything. And you can get the data from the ECMO. Now ECMO has wireless transmission. You can get the data right on your screen if you need to, instead of the nurse calling you. More, again, I'm just showing you different varieties. ECMOs, Impalas, transmitting to the monitors. So what's the advantage of the telehealth? Telehealth, you have a direct communication. The physician can look at what's going on in the room. So at this point in my little service, the nurse will call me simply, patient has a fever. I will do the fever workup, put the orders in my Epic. But if the patient is coding, I will turn on the camera in the room, and the camera sweeps the whole room, see what's going on, stops at the patient. I can see the patient, I can see the monitor. I run the code from my office, manage the situation, put the orders in. And it's live, and I communicate with the docs in the room and with the nurses directly. There's no in between. And the nurse can call me back. And if the patient is awake, obviously not a good situation, the patient can communicate with me. Patients love it. Some of the patients call it the eye in the sky. And I call it, I'm the drone in the sky. Now, I think you can incorporate TELE-ICU with the shock centers. So let's say a big system like Methodist, which has peripheral Methodist. So that ICU center can serve to manage those patients. And if the patient needs to be transferred to main Methodist, that system can do that. Activate the MCS team, activate the surgeons, the cardiologists, get things going. So that can be your command center. So you can save money that way. Your referral center takes calls from whatever hospital it is outside and transfers the patient in. It can be simple, like this is here our very simple way that exists. I'm sure all of you see the commercials for telehealth, and you can the doctor comes in from his office, talks to a nurse, primary care, very simple primary care, it works, it saves money, it's very quick. This is the e-alert button for the coding situation. And it's all two-way videos. And the camera can be a fixed camera or a camera on a robot. Now here's a big sophisticated center. That's not like my little center. This is the high-tech centers with the multiple monitors, multiple cameras, multiple beds. and you can do up to like 200-300 patients. You can put bags and bags in there. So big institutions can have a huge centers, which have these big centers that can monitor, and you can have nurses and physicians monitoring. It depends on what kind of a model you want and how much money you want to spend for infrastructure. So every hospital, every institution can build it to its own way. And how is that going to work with the ECMO? I'll give you my thoughts in a little while. So what's the ICU center have? Board-certified intensivists that are available. Now I want you to know there's a shortage of board-certified intensivists. So you imagine all the, let's say, Kinwood, let's say Magnolia, how many board-certified ICU attendings are available? Not that many. So if you put them in one place and you can communicate with them, it's going to be much better way, using your resources. You manage MCS, ECMO, sepsis bundles, vent management, early extubation, bleeding, anticoagulation, you name it. You can put whatever protocol you want in these systems. There's big academic centers who have major innovation centers. And what's good about the EICU? Although there are many attendings admitting patients to the ICU, the EICU unites the protocols. That follows the same algorithms. So there's uniformity. And with uniformity there is success. I believe in innovation and uniformity. Uniformity is like when we walk at the OR and we say, are we doing this today a different way? No, we do the things the same way for a good outcome. Now, those days where we don't have 24 cares now are gone. You need 24/7 care. If your mom is in the hospital, you want 24/7 care. If I'm in the hospital, I want 24/7 care. That day we don't have a day doc available. The doctor rounds, goes to the office, the pulmonologist. Those days are way gone. It's a big quality issue. Leapfrog reimbursement for the hospitals are getting for having 24/7 coverage intensivists. I mean, if you don't have 24/7, it's a big issue. And again, to have a 24 in-house coverage is impossible for some places, economically unfeasible. And so you have to substitute with telehealth. Now we're going to talk about multiple studies, and we're going to look at them on the slides about the safety and how things have evolved. Please stop for any questions. So what happens is there's models where the intensivist will round with the team, with the camera 24/7. Will come in the morning, round with the team, and the camera's following the team, and the team will talk to the camera, and they will just make changes. There's a pharmacist in the center. There's everybody in the center will have with you. The only things you need on the ground is PT and OT. In England, they're doing PT and OT telemedicine. I'm not sure how they're doing that, but they are doing it in England. Okay? So it's like a regular...
What's PT and OT?
Physical therapy. Occupational, yes. So doing physical and occupational therapy. So the regular rounds, and some hospitals are using a different model where they have their own team during the day and they have a night team. The hospitals I'm covering right now, the day team was present and the ground. They will call me around. I'll round with them. A couple of hours later, I'll round with the nurses and the patients, as if it's like a regular day. I get to know my patients, and if there's any problems, I would just call the day team, ask them any questions. You get to know the doctors in the hospital. It's all about building relationships with people. And the ICU mortality reduction, we can show those numbers. We can see a lot of graphs later. I mean, there's no doubt having an intensivist available for the ICU patient reduces mortality. And let's say I will call you, tell you your patient is bleeding or there's tamponade, and it will be an early call, and get things going much earlier, because again, the nurse has access to call me. I can look at the room and look at the data and look at the patients. And you can, just like in any hospital, I'll ask an anesthesia to come into the room and intubate the patient, put lines in, whatever lines I need. So those kind of things people say, oh, how are you intubating through the camera? Well, I'm not intubating through the camera, but in reality, all hospitals They have anesthesia comes in to intubate. You get somebody put the lines, whether it's surgeons, whether ICU fellows are available, put the lines in. So again, you can go very sophisticated. This is a very sophisticated, expensive model, where the intensivist, advanced practice nurse, critical care nurse, data analysis, obviously see how successful you are, and IT, which is I cannot live without, because I'm not that smart. And here's a lot of data that can come in for you, and I'm sure it's a very busy slide, but to give you a little information. And here's the most important thing for you guys to know. Look at the red parameters. You can set up the parameters any way you want to. So let's say on echo flow, you can set up whatever flow you want. If you want 4, do you want 3, or FIR2, you can set up whatever you want to, whatever saturation you desire. And to an alarm, if you're going to go below the parameter, and start flashing red. And that red alert, some centers have like, I mean, maybe I'm a little old, the blue light specials at Kmart. So there's some centers that when the red goes, you saw the blue light goes like in the whole room. Everybody knows there's something going wrong. So that's the e-care, that's the continuous monitoring care. So you set those parameters, whatever parameter you want. So for ECMO, I think you should have for whatever flow you want, okay, whatever FIR2 you want, whatever saturation you want, and you can have this flashing. If there's a problem, they will alert the perfusionist, and they will alert the doc what's going on. Again, very sophisticated centers. I mean, you change the protocols, and I believe you have to change the protocols working with the boots on the ground. I'm a big believer in the military. Boots on the ground are very important for you. You have to have a good relationship with them, and you cannot be fighting with them. You have to work together. And I will call, I will have my surgeons call me, tell me, what do we want to do today? And they will tell me, and we'll have a plan together. There's a problem, I'll call them. They have confidence that they come in, there's a problem, you come in, go to the R immediately. You have to be sure of your data, know what you're talking about, and see the patient, and communicate with the people on the ground. It works out very, very smooth. In the beginning, there was a lot of doubts in the service. As I told you, I got that eye of the sky from one of the surgeons. Tells me, are you the eye in the sky? And I wasn't offended by it. It says, yes, I'm the drone in the sky. And now it's my new little line, you know. So every patient is going to be seen, because every room should have a camera, and that's the standards. You cannot say, well, okay, we can have it in one room and not in another room. For ECMO, I think it should be certain ECMO rooms that they're gonna put the patients in, and they can put those cameras there. And it says like certain ECMO nurses are monitoring the ECMO in some hospitals. Those can communicate to the center, see what we can do about it. Like you want to change flows, you want to change FIR2. And I'm a little heavy on documentation. I will write a little note with every change I do. I think it does help a lot. This reduction in mortality, reduction, you can see all these graphs, and there's so many studies out there. This is a situation that had to be validated a lot because there was a lot of doubts in it, I'll tell you honestly. There was a lot of doubts that this is real. Reduction of length of stay, less sepsis, less pneumonia. I mean, just like any ICU. It has a good team rounding on it. Less blood transfusions. I mean, we had like graphs of people transfusing at 9, people transfusing at 8, at 7, and we just we worked around with the docs. We see what the data is for that, and a lot of reduction of blood transfusions. A lot of people, because they're not in the ICU, so just the safest thing for them from home. Hello, give blood, without any objective data. Mm-hmm. For me, I give blood depending on, I cover a hospital that has to get platelets from Philadelphia, and the hospital in New Jersey. So if I want to get platelets, I will start ordering it early because I know there's a time lag. So you have to know these little things that make a big difference. Again, this did not happen overnight. It took years and a lot of communication. So you have to ask the system do whatever you want it to do. It's not going to do any more. So a perfect system will do what you want it to do. So when we talk about ECMO, I want to monitor the ECMO safely, and I want to have it safely and cost efficiently. Having a perfusionist bedside 24/7, and some hospitals mandate that 24/7 perfusionist bedside. Is that feasible? Is that economic? So you have to think. If I monitor remotely, is that going to work? Is that going to be safe for the patients? What interventions I can do remotely, or bedside I cannot do remotely? What kind of phone calls? What kind of access? I have access to a doctor in the hospital, to a surgeon at home, access to tertiary centers, access to other ECMO teams. Am I able to activate an ECMO dispatch team to go fix the problem much quicker than a perfusion sitting bedside with no access to all this information? We're going to take a little short break now.
Yes, we will. It looks like that's what the slide says. Short break. Okay, so let's take a short break while we get Dr. Samir's second half of his presentation. Maybe, how about we do, you want to do, what, 9 minutes? How long?
Yeah, 9, 10 minutes.
9, 10 minutes. Okay, very good. We'll have a 9 or 10 minute break. Okay, we're not going to be gone long. We're just going to run. We have to do the obligatory advertisements. We have to thank our sponsors. So we'll play those advertisements, and then we'll come back and we'll go into Dr. Samir's second part of his presentation on the remote ICU intensivist.
Let's start with the basics. What's the goal of autotransfusion? The goal of autotransfusion is to return the highest quantity and quality of red blood cells to patients with the least amount of waste as quickly as possible. Take a look at what goes on inside an autotransfusion device. There are three categorically different methods of blood processing: passive cell salvage, which uses a Latham bowl, continuous cell salvage, and dynamic cell salvage, which is available only in the Autolog IQ. Dynamic cell salvage uses algorithm-driven intelligent blood sensing to make micro-adjustments during processing in order to recover high-quality blood fast, automatically. How does it work? There are three things that distinguish dynamic cell salvage. First, there's the IntelliPath bowl. One bowl size works for most procedures. That may seem counterintuitive, but it's designed to work that way very effectively. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Autolog IQ uses an adaptive two-stage fill process to get high hematocrit with less waste. It's a little like filling a soda glass. Pour it in all at once, and you know what happens. With the adaptive two-stage fill, the system does an initial fill. It pauses briefly to compact the red blood cells. Then it adjusts the second fill speed, slower for low hematocrit, faster for high. That way you keep more red blood cells and lose less into the waste bag. The third key feature is the pulse wash. See these little indentations? They are part of the IntelliPath bowl design. They disrupt the red blood cell pack during the wash, which helps optimize saline penetration for an effective wash cycle. The pulse wash makes the wash process more efficient by adjusting the saline volume, depending on the characteristics of the red blood cell pack. Each pulse volume is designed to help minimize red blood cell spillage. All this happens automatically. With the push of a button, you're providing high hematocrit and quality packed red blood cells for the patient with just one program. You might think that this intelligently calibrated process would be slower. Not so. The Autolog IQ processing rate is approximately 3 minutes. Every now and then, you may have an exceptional case where you want to override the automated setting. No problem. Just press the setting you want for immediate override. The Autolog IQ system consistently delivers high-quality blood product automatically. Simply genius.
The point of care program at Huntsville Hospital is approaching its 20-year anniversary. As we began to grow as a hospital and provide more complex services to our community, the need for point of care testing became very clear in our organization. Many of our departments consider the EPOT device to be crucial to their ability to quickly move their patients from entry to the hospital to procedural room. It helps them monitor the patient's status during their procedures and post-procedure, so it's very integrated into our entire continuum of patient care. If you have any patient population where blood management is crucial, then a point of care device is very useful in those types of settings. It can provide a quick result on a very small amount of blood, and that is really important in some of our patient population.
We are starting a new process where we're going to screen our patients on the floor for sepsis. The patient can look and actually feel okay. They will show us signs and symptoms of sepsis. So what we do when they show these signs, we get a lactate level.
Lactic acid is a product of the sepsis cascade. So with sepsis, the inflammatory light switch goes on, the cascade starts churning, and unfortunately, once it starts going, we have to stop it. It will not stop on its own. The faster the lab draw, the faster the lab results, the faster you can act on it.
The process in the lab is what the process is. It just takes a certain amount of time for the instruments to run those tests.
I mean, we're talking 30 minutes even on a stat because that's the process. This is just how long it takes. There's not really anything you can do about that. For every hour you wait to give an antibiotic, the mortality for that patient increases 8%. So now that we have the handheld device, the nurse can get those results within a few minutes, and we know how to treat that patient. If a patient is going into septic shock, we do not have minutes to spare. We have got to get it done quickly. So when you get the little beep from the epoch that says your results are in, you go with it. You don't even think twice about it. You're like, this is good. This is what I'm going to do for this patient. The next steps are clear.
I think our mortality on the initial floors dropped by almost 50% in the first 3 to 6 months. At this point, we're about hospital-wide. I think we'll be hospital-wide another 2 to 4 months. So this has become a huge program within our system.
Without the epoch device, it would really be hard for us to get everything done in the timely manner. So it's really helped us to get our program going.
I mean, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a medicine doctor, whether you're a dermatologist, you want to be able to do things in a timely fashion so that you can be most effective.
This really makes a difference in patient outcomes.
How are you, everybody?
Welcome back. Dr. Samir, you ready for part 2?
Absolutely.
And this time, we got Dr. Samir a monitor that's closer to him, his computer, so he can see. Because the studio is so big that your confidence monitor is so far away, I can hardly read it. Okay, I've got your controller. Let me know what you'd like to do.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna read it. Telemedicine started way back then. I don't know if people remember, and I give my wife a hard time when she tells me, look, this is on the news. I said, am I gonna learn my medicine on the news? Am I gonna get the new innovations on TV or Facebook? So I'll tell you, I mean, telemedicine has been available for a long time. People called in, say, what should I do? I get frequent headaches. Or what should I do? I'm having chest pains. What should I do? That has been going on from the 40s and the 50s. So in technology, you have a bell curve. You have the innovators and the adopters in the beginning, and they help with early, there's the early majority of people. So innovators, adopters, then the early majority, and then the late people, half and half, and then the stragglers that I say they don't care or they feel technology kills patients. So accepting like something like that, Joe, maybe I'll let you comment on these slides. So the perception is that the doctor is the sky, the doctor doesn't know the patient. These perceptions we have to get over. And here's the acceptance slide with the numbers. And it goes from the younger residents to the older population. People in the beginning said telemedicine is going to kill patients. Now it's like people feel that they needed to improve quality. And there was a little resistance, and I have to tell you, I'm going to see biased, I might get beaten up when I leave here. The nurses in the units felt that having a model like that would reduce nurses staffing at bedside. There's some conflict, and I was talking about that earlier. People on camera will argue with people in the room, and I have to tell you, you have to get over that. We're all working together. Collaboration is the key word. And there's some centers that their programs got shut down because people were fighting on camera. That's inappropriate and it should not happen. As a courtesy, I'm an anesthesiologist. If somebody's intubating on camera, I will always shut the camera off as a courtesy. And then I tell the nurse, call me when the procedure has been done. And I believe that 100%. You're putting lines or put a camera, you're intubating, just shut the camera off and then resume, because there's nothing you're going to do on camera that the person on the field is not doing. So I do feel you have to have some courtesy. And collaboration is the key word. So I feel like you always have to visit the hospital that you're covering. They have to see who you are, like that you really exist, you're alive. You're not a voice in a box. And work with them, meet with them, see what they want to do, how they want to innovate, What do we want to do together? What kind of meds do we need? What kind of protocols do we need? What's our objectives? We have to have one plan. Having multiple plans and fighting with a bedside team is not good for anyone. You have to also arrange lectures and teleconferences for those nurses and bedside teams. And I even sometimes I'm taking lectures, I see slides, and I send them to the ICU charge nurse. And she appreciates that. She'll tell me, I feel like we're with you in the lecture. And so maybe management of bleeding, just a few highlights that you feel that you're thinking about them. And I'll tell them, you know, I went to this lecture today, this is what I thought about you guys. Well, maybe that will help. You have to keep that in mind always. It's part of your daily work. And a lot of people in the beginning were not used to having a tele-ICU. So really, you know, you have ICU staff that works in the bedside and what does tele-ICU. You have some who don't, you know, and you have to have a medical director that sets up the standards. I feel the medical director is very important. Set up the protocols and standards. More important, the medical director works out of collaboration. The medical director should sit with all chairs from every department, see what their objective is. How can we get it done together? You know, you are a deal maker. You're making the whole system work together. You're not isolated at home or in the sky. You know, I keep saying the drone in the sky because I just saw the drone delivering organs on LinkedIn. This is going to see a new thing now.
Oh, wow.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
They have drones delivering organs.
I was texting Scott. I told him, Scott Chan, we're going to have to stand outside, we'll drop the heart and wait for you to catch it.
What's better than me walking 2 miles down Fannin Street to Children's in the middle of the night?
Or getting to the helicopter to get to the airport, to fly someplace, to fly back.
That's crazy.
And why do I mention that the drone delivering organs came, where did they learn from? They learned from Amazon. So we all learn from technology and innovate together. Amazon does package deliveries with the drones. For in our house, the drones will be hitting each other because I know how my wife shops in Amazon. The drones will be like colliding with each other. I think I'm not going to have a ride home. I think one of you guys have to drop me off. So, you know, really, we learn technology from there. And you have to just innovate. You know, cardiac surgeons taught me, trust everything, check everyone. Okay? I learned that. Data is very important. These are studies looked at the mix of medical ICUs, surgical ICUs. And some of you guys might disagree with me. I think the easiest ICU to be covered by tele-ICU is the cardiac surgery ICUs. Why? Because you have swans, you have output, you have index,
data.
you have invasive, a lot of data. See, like just data. You see this data, so you have the nurse telling you data, you have the monitor telling you data, you work it all together. I can look at the echo, I showed you before, I can look at the X-ray, I can look at the CAT scan. I have all the data available for me right there. And this is what I need. And just put it all together, see whatever questions I have, and call the bedside team. You can put lab alerts, you can put hemoglobin alerts for ECMO. If hemoglobin drops to 6, that will alarm that you need to intervene. So again, you're not keep checking the lab and refreshing. All of us have done that. Refresh Epic, refresh Cerna. You know, so that's, if you have the hemoglobin set up at 7.6 and just have it alarm for you, it will just give you the alarm then. So you really you're proactively intervening. There's no question there was a reduction in ICU mortality. And overall hospital mortality, ICU length of stay, because why the patients are being managed actively at night. It's not like, oh, just let them rest tonight, we'll deal with it in the morning. Some people call me and say, should they worry about it in the morning? I said, is this a 24/7 hospital? And you know, and I'm sure you've heard that before. I said, no, I want to, like, let's just do what we need to take care of. High compliance with best practices. I'm going to use one example for myself. I tell the nurses, do not call me a patient, you don't think they're breathing, don't call me. The first phone call should be to anesthesia first. You're empowered. You don't think a patient is breathing, do not call me. Call anesthesia first and intubate. And then call me and see what's happening. Because why? I want to err on the side of caution. There's nothing, I'm going to tell you, oh, patient's not breathing, let's just try. No, I want patient to be safe. This is the kind of standards you have to have. 24/7 coverage for something like that. You have to have seasoned attendings. And I have to say that, and again, a lot of people might kill me outside. I feel ICU telemedicine is for seasoned attendings because you have to have seen what happened multiple times and able to make decisions on your own. And really with the feedback of data and your patient and your nurses. So you have to empower people, and that's bedside teams, they appreciate it. The nurses appreciate so much, I will never counter. They intubated the patient, go ahead, intubate the patient, secure the airway, oxygenate the patient, don't waste any time. And I would never be mad at them for doing the right thing. You have to always reward people doing the right thing. When you come around in the morning, you want people to do the right thing for your patients.
Absolutely.
Exactly, that's it.
Because there's hell to pay when they don't.
And I'll tell you something, you do the right thing. I mean, it sounds so simple, do the right thing, nobody gets in trouble. And the patients do very well. Again, there's a lot of multi-center trials, 56 ICUs, 32 hospitals, different health system, from small, and that's the thing is you have to look at small health system, big health system, and length of stay reduction, ICU, length of stay, hospital length of stay. At the same time, I have to tell you something. When doctor calls me, tells me, I want to put the patient in the ICU, is that okay with you? My answer is always yes. Why? This doctor is calling me, they're in the line for help. My answer should be always yes. I'm able to see and monitor this patient and see a lot of data, but he cannot see. And he's calling me for help. So my answer is yes, put the patient in the ICU. If the patient is doing very well in the morning, we'll downgrade and send them out again. But there should not be a discussion, yes or no. It should be yes, let me bring the patient, let me take care of it. And if everything is good and perfect, they can go out in the morning.
Right.
A few hours in the ICU for the patient's safety is very important.
Well, that kind of goes to the implementation of rapid responses versus waiting for code blues. Empowering the nurses to feel comfortable calling the intermediate team before the code team to come up and look at them. Mortalities go down significantly when you empower the nurses to do that, and that's essentially, this is the next step in that.
Absolutely. And I'll tell the nurses, do not hesitate to call me. I told them, rather you over call me than under call me. And do the right thing. I mean, I've never been mad at them for intubating. I told them I can extubate somebody very easily. You intubate it inappropriately, or like the patient is going to do, I can extubate them, no problem.
Right.
But do the right thing. Intervene quickly and call me. And that's why having a 24.
Well, again, that's the anesthesiologist in you too, who's seen airways all day, every day for however many years versus a strictly pulmonary critical care as well. So your point on getting anesthesia involved that's the way I deal with it. If there's any question, I just get them to intubate and clean up the mess in the morning, because airways usually where you're going to get in trouble.
Absolutely. Brain oxygen, if you don't save the brain, nothing else should be is going to be saved. We let patients go because they don't have any mental status, right? That's the reason most patients they let go.
Right.
But if you save the brain, everything else will be okay. And again, you have to empower the nurse, like I call. You cannot be yelling, oh, well, I'm not there. But if they feel the patient needs to be intubated, it's okay. And I just make sure you call the expert, which is anesthesia at my point, and come, intubate, secure the airway, and I can always extubate in the morning, it's no problem. Yeah. Err on the side of caution. So the ICU will see the patient, and I can look at all the labs, I can look at the CAT scan, X-ray, everything in a few minutes, and look at the patient. I mean, I don't have to travel or go anywhere. And I'll tell you that's very important. And I'll tell the nurse, can you go into the room? Our camera in right now. I can talk to the nurse, I can talk to the patient. And really, the patients love it. They feel there's a doc there that's, at the beginning I thought the patient was going to doubt it, or it's the voice of God. And sometimes I can joke with the patients. I feel yes, it's the voice of God. So you need to rest. We'll take care of you. You'll be okay. The patients have confidence. There's a doc available to them.
I would think too the staff would, like it as well. I mean, because I was reading the other day that Cleveland Clinic did a study and they reduced the number of pages as well as calls by about 60% at night. So, there's a lot of burnout, right?
Absolutely.
With critical care staff, et cetera. And so I would think that the nurses and the staff would appreciate having someone monitoring 24/7, so they're not called continuously throughout the night.
I'll tell you, they really appreciate it a lot. Right now, I mean, the nurses I've been working with, really, I have to tell you, we have like a relationship. Although we're far away from each other, we do have a relationship. We try to make them feel like they're part of everything, and we get to know each other very well. Preferences, they know me very well. Like I'm an overgiver of mag. I will give mag liberally.
Me too.
Yeah, you see. So they know that Samir
It's
mag.
3. Well, there's still an AFib.
Exactly.
I give some more.
Give some more. And I correct acidosis aggressively because you guys taught me to correct acidosis aggressively. See, from being on the heart-lung machine, we correct acidosis aggressively. And I correct acidosis. They know now that they have to have a box of bicarb available. When Dr. Samir's on, box of bicarb stacked up. And the codes, they run it with high-dose epi. I never give 1 and 2 milligrams.
Yeah.
I give 5, 10, and some codes 100. So there's a nursing supervisor that tells me, Dr. Samir, when I know you're on call, I'll go to the corner of the room and start loading the epi if there's a code. And they get to know you, get to know your preferences. It works out very well. The team on the day.
And a lot of times, sorry to interrupt, but they know what to do, but they need that order. And if you're available, it's just,
Absolutely.
it moves quicker versus waiting for the guy that's been up all weekend to answer a page, and then they start paging another doctor, and then it's, that happens as well. And sometimes those minutes are precious.
Absolutely. And, they just want, like you said, they want the order and the support.
Right.
And I'll tell them, they know Samir's on, and I'll tell them, how I run the codes? And they were already loading up the epi before they call me. They know we're going to give like 10 milligrams at a time, And the charge nurse said, Samir, when the hospital's loading up on bicarb when they know you're on. And, and then the day team gets to know who you are. So sometimes the day team tells me, Dr. Samir, can you be on call when we're working daytime because we have a very good relationship, sign out. I know they know what I will need to know, and just work it together. And we get to the point you have to know the tertiary center which you're going to send to patients, because some of these hospitals are very small, and you get sent to like a transfer center in Penn. Like I get to know all the surgeons in Penn now,
Right.
And the PE team and the heart failure team in Penn.
Right. And when the smaller hospitals are wanting to transfer, it's just they don't know anybody a lot of the times, and if you can make that easier for them, they love that.
Absolutely. And it's all about building connections and respecting each other.
And that's a good point. I mean, when you're doing the ICU monitoring, is it mainly in urban settings or
Right now,
rural settings?
Right now I'm covering, believe it or not, beach setting. I'm going to make you laugh. It's a beach setting. It's the hospital. We're right on the beach. That's covered part of the shore in Jersey. And right now it's beyond busy. See, hospitals here are not that busy in the summer, but that hospital is crazy busy in the summer because that area gets highly inhabited. And, and I know people come in, and I know what's coming. A lot of sepsis, a lot of dehydration, a lot of H2H abuse, a lot of MIs. And I see it gets really, really very busy. And I see it all the time because I don't travel in the summer. I love the Houston heat. Put me in the pool in the Houston heat, I'm good.
Gotcha.
So I'll tell you, that. But there's now healthcare systems, academic centers, and these studies were based on academic center. Integrate their smaller centers together. In New York, when the biggest center was Chester County Medical Center, with all the little hospitals through that system, and they all feeding into it. And there's some health systems where it's a company monitoring a few hospitals, that unrelated to each other. But the ones that have health system, like let's say Methodist system and Herman system, they monitor the ones that center commands. Okay, and really there's no suburban, but they found that it does help academic for the residents burnout, who the residents are on call. Well, especially with the centers when you have, I want to activate heart failure and shock teams. So you're right now, I want to take in and activate my heart failure team, activate my shock team, activate your perfusion team. So it works out that integration that way. You make the best use of your command center. You built it anyway. You spend a lot of money in it. You can use it for e-care, and you can use it to get your shock system built. Your referrals in, instead of having the transfer center. And the transfer center is relying on phone calls and beds. You know which bed the patient should go to. CCU, MICU, surgical ICU. It's your decision. And people on the ground, we work with them, where the patient should go. Am I taking too long, Joe?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
You're great.
You have to work with the ICU committees, and see what you would like, and see if there's something you see what's missing, and send them your recommendation. And communicate with them. That's what you think should happen, and back and forth. And there has to be an ICU committee on the ground. So I asked my charge nurse to be on that ICU committee. She liked it a lot. So, you know, Jen and I, we communicate with each other a lot, and now she takes my request to the ICU committee. It works out very well. So all of us are in charge of quality. You know, all of us want the best care for our patients. I say nobody's waking up in the morning to go to the hospital. Oh, I want my patients to die today. Everybody wants their patients to do very well today. So I always have I take a point when people say, well, I'm here to make my patients safe. Everybody wakes up in the morning, gets in their car to go to work, to keep their patients safe. So the ventilator rounds were very important, you know, and whether you're going to use the date of 7 cc's per kilo. Like I changed that for cardiac surgery. When it's a cardiac surgery patients, I will go up a little in the 7 cc per kilo. I have the RT call me with the ABGs directly. I mean, I don't say, don't put it as just, if there's a problem, call me directly. Don't wait to call, it's an epic, just call me. Tell me, you know, tell me what we can do together. So we do that, we can do vent changes, get patients extubated much quicker. Yeah, I mean, and here again, ICU mortality ratio decline. You can see the graph. It's very clear with vent management. Dr. Scarlock, which is the publisher of this study, is one of my mentors. He's an amazing guy, and he knows about TELE-ICU more than anybody else I know. And again, so that's something that we were talking about smaller hospitals. So they take the robot, they run with them in the big hospitals on the ventilators, and see what the vents are, what's the settings. Should we get a patient spontaneous breathing trial, and see what happens. They cannot breathe, put them back on the vent on the regular settings. Mm-hmm. See, I have two choices. I don't know a third one. Either you can breathe or you cannot breathe. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm sure you're the same. I can tell. I don't have something in the middle. You can breathe or you cannot breathe. If you can breathe, I will take the tube out. If you cannot, it's okay. You have to always look for the safest thing. Low tidal volume is very important because, you know, it decreases lung injury, 7 cc per kilo. But again, you have to tailor to the kind of patient and the kind of surgery the patient has. And the patient habitus, which we know in Texas, the patient habitus is very small.
Right.
Extremely small.
And just real quickly, when you do have a large patient like that, and they're having trouble getting the parameters they want to extubate, when you see a patient and they're lying totally flat, does that kind of ring a bell? Like, hey, maybe we need to get them a little more in Fowler position to help with their tidal volumes and numbers? Because in ECMOs, you know, you'll go in and sometimes they're totally flat. You're not getting the numbers you want, and put them in 20 degrees, and next thing you know, voila, lung compliance is better. All the numbers just get better.
I always tell the staff when they do that, would you like to lay comfortable in bed flat like that?
Right.
And I'll just imagine yourself. The best person with the staff people, then would you like to be uncomfortable like that? This is like the people say, well, no coffee, nothing after cardiac surgery. So if you take my coffee away, it would be a hostage situation.
Exactly.
You'd have to use the SWAT team outside, you know. If they don't have my coffee in the morning,
right.
Why are you depriving the poor patient? What did the patient do to you? I mean,
heart surgery is not a contraindication for coffee, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Set up like the sitting up thing with the balloon. Don't sit up with the balloons get dislodged. Oh my God, it's gonna migrate. I mean, if it's gonna migrate, it's gonna migrate.
Right.
I mean, that's not really gonna be. You have to do the right thing and the safest thing for the patient.
Right.
And be comfortable, because if the patient is gonna be comfortable, they're gonna cooperate much more. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, after cardiac surgery, I mean, maybe I'm bad. Have you ever listened to bowel sounds?
No.
No. For me, if you can take PO, you know, I let a couple of sips of coffee ginger ale. And if you aspirate on that, then you're going to stop. Nobody has died from a couple of sips of coffee without milk, like black coffee or
Right.
diet ginger ale. But you're making the patient's life much better. Because my wife will tell you take from me my soda and my coffee is going to be a hostage situation. You get much better compliance with the patients. They will do pretty much whatever you want, you know. I mean, they tell me, I will keep the patient MPO. MPO for what? I mean, take your pills PO instead of giving IV meds. I mean, nothing better than get your pain meds PO, get everything PO. The patients are happy. The mouth is not dry, and you know, and you're reducing the cost. That's another thing about reducing the cost. When you take PO cost of meds is much lower than IV meds.
Right.
Less nursing cost, less everything cost. So you have to. So that's a part of the global thinking of the ICU team. You have to think like really outside the box. And you know, and you have to look at what's the worst thing is going to happen is I tell the nurse if you aspirate a couple of drops of black coffee, it's okay, just stop. But you have to swallow a vial and do all that. No, just after something you have to either not, you know, drink or not drink. As simple as that.
Right.
Okay. Now legal issues, which a lot of people at the beginning were scared about, and then we're going to go into that. And please feel free to be controversial. Okay, so obviously, one of the most important things people don't realize, you have to have a license in the practicing state. So like I'm covering a hospital in New Jersey, I have a New Jersey license. It does not matter if I have a Texas license, because I'm not operating on my house. You have to worry, a lot of people get confused about that. It's the destination state where you have to have a license there. You have to have your malpractice and everything there. Just as if you're in a regular hospital. You're a regular hospital out of your center or out of your house. And you have to have privileges and a license and malpractice, everything like anything regular.
Do you pay taxes there?
No. Thank God I pay taxes.
Because, you know, like professional players, you know, when they play like in New York, they pay the state, city, and federal income taxes.
You know,
they got all these crazy returns, but
I moved out to New York for a reason, for the cold weather and the taxes. I'm not going to go back to that. Okay?
Right. Okay.
No. You pay regular taxes here, all that, but you have to have your New Jersey license, your New Jersey DAA.
Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up. So they maybe they'll start looking into taxes.
Yes.
Cut that part of that comment.
Okay. And you know, again, you have to build really relationships with the boots on the ground and respect them, and because they are really part of you and you're part of them. The other day I wasn't feeling well, and the nurse said, "We're very worried about you. You're coughing a little. We're very worried about you." That makes you feel like you really you're part. They say, "We don't see you, but you're part of us." And that really was like something for me very amazing. I felt like, you know, we are one team. And I always tell them, if you want to call me at night time, then like somebody else is covering, there's an issue, just call me. Again, you have to make it easy for them. You know, whenever they need something, they call you, regardless of what they need. Tell me if I'm doing too much on time.
You're doing fine.
So have you ever looked at what your effect is? Are you basically like now 3 or 4 or 5 pulmonary intensivists working a 12-hour shift? By the way, have you looked at that? What does your time put in actually translate into, as far as one guy that rounds every day in the unit and then rounds in the afternoon and then goes home? I mean, are you essentially acting as 5 pulmonologists?
Well, I'll tell you, we looked into it. I mean,
Because that would be very interesting from a cost and resource standpoint. Obviously, the resources are limited, and so this helps that. But it seems to me that it would help the cost as well.
Well, I'll tell you what a hospital right now has. One of the hospitals that I cover is they eliminated their MPs in the ICU at night time, so they only have attendings during the day. They have attending and us at night time. So they have no. So right now it's me and the nurses. The hospitals only will come to
saving time and money.
Yeah, they're saving them exactly. The hospitals will come to only. I will need the hospitals to pronounce the patient, because legally you cannot pronounce the patient, you know. So the hospitals, they do the admissions from the ER. I got to the point also that I requested that the ER attending, if they have a question, instead of fighting with the ER, there's a lot of always controversy with the ER. Like, just call me. If you have any question, call me. That day, the ER attending intubated the patient, and they couldn't ventilate the patient. And he's panicking. I told him, try 100 of rock. He said, "Are you sure?" I told him, "I'm sure it'll be fine." If there's a problem, just blame me. I told him, "I'll just take the responsibility."
Yeah.
They give the rock. It tells me, no problem. Ventilated the patient, no problem at all. And that's the thing, is you've developed those relationships, and it helps and reduces the controversy. So right now, the hospital has no MPs in the ICU. You know, there's a huge cost saving right now. and having one attending, and our model for this specific hospital, for a couple other hospitals, is one attending for hospital nighttime. That attending is dedicated to that hospital, okay? Knows all the patients, only for that hospital. And really, it works out. Believe it or not, the cost in the end is much less than having an attending as an MP at night over there.
And CMS, they're realizing it as well. They're increasing reimbursement, aren't they?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're going to be, they're going to scrub it down and make sure that they're not spending more money. Otherwise, they wouldn't increase the reimbursement. Correct?
Absolutely. And I think you need to expand this wisely but efficiently. So I think you look at telemedicine, and that's why I would like to bring it to perfusion, the ECMO story for sure.
Right.
Because I see it all the time. I see my poor perfusionists, like they're stressed out nighttime and stretched out. Daytime, they cannot cover the wars, and they're tired and exhausted. Just you cannot function like that. You get a little center which covers a few ECMO beds, and then you have available for a doc. Then you tell me, doc, we need to get this patient out of another hospital. I get the transfer going. I know which ambulance company in Houston can handle transferring an ECMO patient there. Yeah, and the one that has, I'm sure you guys know, has a bus basically that converts, they can take the patients there.
Right.
And you have the relationship with whoever surgeons or cardiologists in your tertiary center to get things going. And you accept, You don't want to get to the point that somebody's calling you, oh, the flow is 0.5. Should we transfer the patient? No, don't, because the flow 0.5, that's no flow. That's just the machine churning. So, I mean, you want to get to, because if you transfer early, there might be, this is a very high risk situation. You transfer early, there might be some hope. Mm-hmm. You wait late and wait and wait and wait till the liver fails.
Too late.
Too late. Then forget it. When that's the thing. When you start to see liver enzymes going up, it's way too late.
You know what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly. When you're not draining the heart properly and you see pulmonary edema frothing out the tube, that is way too late.
Too late.
I mean, and this requires expertise. People thinking, why should we put like a drainage or an impala, whatever you want to put drainage with an ECMO? Because you need to. That's why we see the lungs tearing apart and pulmonary edema spewing out. And you really have to use technology for the safety of the patients. And I'll tell you, I mean, and I'm not gonna lie. In the beginning, I wasn't a big believer, but Dr. Scarlock convinced me, and he be nice to your fellows. The idea. He was one of my fellows in Methodist, and he moved and started telemedicine in New York, and he's amazing and innovative at it. Published unbelievable studies. And I'll tell you, I learned from him a lot, and I now, if I have any question about telemedicine, I'll give him a call. And it evolved, he had it evolve in the consultation service. There's the e-care manager, which is all the analytics, and that I feel the e-care takes away from the relationship with the boots on the ground team. Because the e-care is alarming for you all the data. And sometimes you're just calling the people, tell them what to do. I'm not sure they like that much. But for the consultation model, the nurses call and they know what your ways are and they help manage the patients. Just like I think right away, when somebody's calling me, like they call me in my call room, what I would do, so just manage the ABGs, manage the vent that way. Little things make a big difference in the morning to get the patients out. Those big malpractice concern, we're going to get sued right and left, nobody's seeing the patients. The drama, I call it the hopla, the drama. Oh, we're going to get sued, lawsuits, nobody's seeing the patients, the camera, the eye in the sky thing. And the sarcasm, you get a lot of sarcasm. And I got used to the sarcasm, and I answer sometimes. I learned from a lot of very bad people I work with, from some gangsters. I'm sure you know them, Joe. I'm sure you guys know all of them. Those gangsters, those gangsters taught me the kind of responses I should give. So again, do docs do bedside orders? They do. They do phone orders. There's a lot of student phone orders. Did that increase lawsuits? Okay, and they looked from that. They went from look at TELE-ICU. TELE-ICU, getting live data. You look at the patient directly. You're implementing bundles that have been proven to work. You are in the work environment right there, seeing what's happening. You're not in your car. You're not in McDonald's line, putting your order for a Big Mac, and taking a call from the nurse. You're not in a party. And I have to say it, having a little drink and looking at the camera. You are right there, looking at the camera's going on. So, I mean, I mean, so if you don't think that's safe, you tell me what's safe. And here's the data for all the malpractice claims. I mean, the data speaks for itself. I'm not going to say anything. And has there been an increase? Has there been a drop? You look at it, and you can tell. Having again, like you said, an intensivist available all the time is the board certified intensivist all the time. I mean, for sure, that has been proven over and over that reduces costs, will reduce claims. Malpractice, absolutely. You're not getting an exhausted resident, an exhausted doc goes with his patients in the office all day, you know. And you're able to make available resources for that team that they need. You need a general surgeon, your lactate is very high, your belly is distended, call the general surgeon. And you give them data, objective data. Most of the time they speak to an attending, most of the time they'll come in with no issue.
Yeah, that's the thing as a surgeon. You just want the data.
That's it. You want objective data that you can depend on.
Right, and a good general surgeon, cardiovascular surgeon can take those things over the phone and make the diagnosis and know that they need to come in. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times, just with numbers, that I've come in and it's been the right decision, because like you referred back to, as far as the cardiovascular ICU being the easiest, there's just so much data. Even if you're not experienced, the data points you almost infallibly to the problem, or at least to you need to open the chest up and figure out what's going on, or you need to open the belly up and figure out what's going on. I mean, there's, for the chest, tension pneumothorax, tamponade, things of that nature, they all require a surgical intervention. They're all pretty much the same to some degree, and you can do all of them very quickly.
Absolutely.
But they have a very finite number of parameters that if you ignore, the patient's dead. If you don't ignore, you can save a life.
I thought you had a situation the other day in one of the small hospitals that did not have a vascular attack on call. And the nurse called me, the patient's having pain. We think it might be the neuropathy. I turned the camera on, patient is screaming in pain. I know very well that screaming in pain is never a neuropathy.
It's ischemic pain.
It's ischemic pain.
It's the worst pain ever.
It's the worst pain ever. The patient is like jumping off the bed from pain. I told him there's no way that's neuropathy. They were going down the neuropathy pathway with Neurontin and all that. So we need a stat duplex. We can't, there's no tech available, all that. Lucky again, there was an amazing supervisor that I know very well. She was on call. She said, call in, Samir, I'm going to make it happen. And she called people at home, people not on call. One of the techs came in, God bless his heart, it was a vascular occlusion. And then he thrombectomy. And what did that lead to? The next day, they changed the policy of the hospital as having a vascular attack on call. So that's a positive impact. Again, it's not just about torturing people. It's about do the right thing. It's I mean. And again, it's a diagnosis. Yes, the patient has a very bad neuropathy, but you just said it. Vascular occlusion, patients jump off the bed. It's the worst pain. And so when you hear it once in your life, you never forget it. So it all depends upon your experience that you heard that before, seen that before. And just you keep insisting again. Just get that. And people appreciate it. And the nurses and the patient appreciate that you did the right thing for them. Not blow it off or think, just give some more morphine. Give some more morphine. And that would be an easy call over the phone, but you don't know the patient. You're not seeing the patient on camera. But seeing the patient jump off the bed is you'll know.
Well, and the flip side of that is maybe somebody who's hypersensitive to an ischemic limb and worried about not calling somebody, having the camera. If the patient's sitting there, my leg really hurts, and they're not, and I've had 2 morphine, and I just can't stand the pain, but they're talking to you like this, you know that's not, that can wait till the morning. And my classic question I have for anybody ever get a phone call, can they dorsiflex their foot? And if you can see that, they're doing their feet like that, and maybe it is cooler and whiter and pale and looks ischemic. It's chronic ischemia. That can wait. I've got a lady in the hospital right now I'm dealing with. It's uncomfortable, but it's not ischemic pain. And so.
Acute ischemic pain.
Correct.
Yeah.
And everybody was freaking out about it, but if you have a camera you can lay on, that you don't have to go in the middle of the night, or you feel comfortable letting that patient go to the morning.
Absolutely, and you can talk to the nurse and talk to the patient.
Right.
And I talk to the patient. The other is to talk to the patient. talk to the patient. I was like, how is your leg? It's the worst pain ever. I haven't had that pain before. She has neuropathy as a chronic condition, so she knows her neuropathy pain. The one thing I will just hate to diverse is about ECMO, the big, I call the anticoagulation shenanigan. Everybody has their own thoughts. And the patients, and I'm sure you agree with that.
Yes.
So we try to have uniformity for something like that, and have a doc available for you and just have the same standard, be amazing. Especially if you have your lucky day, a patient has a hit, and you're on something like Angiomax or Gatrobang, and there's a little careful management, or you need to replace antithrombin 3, wherever, and people are just running away, going up and up on the heparin and doing some, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right,
really
very
this kind of dramas where you got a lot of phone calls, and that can impact hugely. Because you keep anticoagulating, and eventually they're going to be hosing out of that. So
Yes, I will.
that's the kind of positive impact I would talk about. I mean, it's extremely, and it's really little interventions that help that situation. You're going to tell me, Joe, if we're running out of time, right?
Yes. Let's see. I think, is that your next slide? Yep.
Yes. And I would like to adopt that you don't know what you don't see, but what can I say?
Well,
I don't want to.
that says Edwards Deming, but you don't know what you don't know. Now, I have to stop you here. And I've said very little, but if you remember, it was Don Rumsfeld who said, there are things we know, things we know we don't know, but there are also those things we don't know. Those are the unknowns. Yes. So you credit Deming with that, but I'm going to credit Rumsfeld.
This is way before Rumsfeld, though.
You know,
I don't know that I credit Rumsfeld too much on that.
So I would like, for me, I'm a visual person. I see something, I can see what's happening. I kind of get an idea what's going on. Once you see an ECMO patient hosing from every ECMO hole, you don't forget it. And then you know that's going up. Those days of giving 25,000 units, it was a couple of years back, I went to the ER, they want to put an ECMO on a patient, they're getting ready, and they start taking the patient, see blood is shooting out everywhere. Now, how much heparin did you give? Well, we give 50,000. So are we going on bypass right now? Because we're not going on full bypass.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes.
And so they say,
Then they
how much?
stroke, and it's all horrible.
Exactly. So why would you do this? Well, that's how, is this the standard when you're in the OR? I said, yes, that's the standard if we're going to go on full bypass.
Right.
That's not what we're doing. You know, and that's understanding that if you're running high flows, you don't have to anticoagulate heavily. If the patient's see this kind of things, it needs, you have a perfusion central command with an attending backup for you for any situation like that. And that's my thought about how you can integrate telemedicine with ECMO. Okay, the whole misdiagnosis story. Okay, I don't want to get in trouble, but I have a little comment about the bottom picture. Maybe you can call your physician is indisposed or exposed, whatever way it is. Okay, and then is the police coming to get me, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, I can't tell.
Make it silent. Phone silent.
Yes. He's texting me to tell me to put my phone on silent.
Okay. So again, misdiagnosis. I mean, all the issues with misdiagnosis and medical errors. On Wall Street and it's been like harping on that, how much it costs and all that. Again, look how much data you're getting here. Except working the guy in the middle of the night, he hasn't slept in 2-3 days, and you give him data, he's not sure what it even means. He's not looking at what you're seeing. He cannot look at data. He cannot look at X-rays, CAT scans. He cannot talk to the patient. So it does make a big difference.
Quality of life and less burnout
Absolutely.
for the intensivist, as well as the staff.
Well, and just personally, what I get is we use encrypted text messaging, Telegram, basically. And so when they give me a report at night, before I go to bed, or when they think I'm about to go to bed, they'll just, even if nothing's wrong, they'll send me just snapshots of the monitors and all the labs. And then if there's anything that happens in the middle of the night, or they get concerned, they do the same thing. Because you can literally look at all those data on your phone, and and make a decision based on that, because I still swan everybody. I mean, and the reason is, well, the patient was a single vessel off pump and blah, blah, blah. It was super easy to do, no problem. But those are the ones that you got to get out of the hospital. Those have to do well. And if you don't have, and yes, there are potential complications with every time you stick a person and use some invasive monitoring device. However, if you do those procedures all the time, that frequency is almost negligible of complications, and you also have the great benefit of having the information readily available to make a good decision, even if you are tired, because I have it on the phone, and that's my version of telemedicine, I guess. When
I agree. Maybe you and I are crazy. I believe in swanning all these patients.
I do too, and it's a standard at our hospital in the Woodlands. And some other surgeons that come that don't necessarily do that, anesthesia drives that, and they don't have a choice because they're in-house and they're, maybe managing those patients if they can't get a hold of that guy. So they're using that information. So we don't give any of the surgeons a choice. That's our protocol. So, and I don't consider it overkill at all.
No, I'm a heavy user of swans, heavy user of echo. I like.
Oh yeah, we'll take a TE over there and drop it in at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely. I don't want to guess. I'm not a good guess. Otherwise, I'll be in Vegas.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to guess. I want to see. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Get the echo. So like these patients that come into the ICU, I don't know their hearts. I don't want to get a cardiology consult. I just need data. So get an echo in the morning. I just want to see what's going on with the patient's heart.
Mm-hmm. I can literally at 3 in the morning get a CRNA to go drop in an echo, and I can look at it while they're doing it by FaceTiming.
I'll tell you what, really, having echo and data is very important. And for echo patients, you can see there's tamponades going on affecting your flow. You're not flowing like you used to flow. Right. What's going on? Yeah, it's chattering. Is the patient bleeding around the heart? What's going on? So I feel getting data is very important. Mm-hmm. And getting echoes are very important.
Yep. That's why every heart patient should get a TEE during the surgery, for that reason, to manage them, but also to keep your team facile in how to put it in and run the machine. I mean, all of our CRNAs, we have half a dozen CRNAs to different levels of expertise, but they can all put it in, and then I'll turn the knobs on, and they can all move it around to where you can guide them and seeing what you're looking at, and combine that with your objective data from the SWAN, the arterial line, et cetera. You can make good decisions.
I'll tell you, really you can never have too much data. You have to have data and know what to do about it.
Right. Well, that's
data for the sake of data.
Like people
is no
say
good.
SWAN kills people. It's not SWAN that kills people. The SWAN is not attacking you.
Right.
It's your bad interpretation of the data is killing you.
Right.
And killing your patients.
Yep, you got to trust it.
Absolutely.
Dr. Samir, you brought up cost a minute ago. Are a lot of these hospitals reluctant in, putting up the capital to build the infrastructure and cameras, et cetera, around the ICU beds? I mean, because it's $50,000 to $100,000, isn't it, to equip?
So that's what I talked to Joe before about this. The cameras, it's a heavy cost in the beginning. The camera cost in the beginning is about per bed is about $10,000. Okay. About 10,000 per bed. And then you have to have the cost of obviously the monitoring of the situation. And you're going to go with the e-care system, the continuous data monitoring, or the consult system. Depends what you have, what you like. In the beginning, if you're really not, I recommend to go with the consult system in the beginning, because see how it works out. If you feel like you need the e-care, the e-care is a little higher cost, a lot higher cost, because you're getting all kinds of data.
Yeah, but then you don't get that interaction like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like the interaction, and him and I agree on that. I like turning the camera on and talking to the patient. Right. I like the nurse be able to call me directly. And with the e-care, you are going to have less interaction with the staff.
Well, hospitals are embracing it. I mean, CMS published some data, I think in 2014, to where in 2002 there were only like 16, and correct me if you will, 16 hospitals that had adopted TELE-ICU monitoring. And then in 2010 there was like 213. So more and more hospitals are embracing this technology and incurring the cost, the capital, to set up the infrastructure to have it. So
absolutely. And if you set it up like and add to it like a lot of services that helps the hospital, like teleneurology, you can get you're gonna get the neurologist available to see the scans right away. How many peripheral hospitals have access to a neurologist and neurosurgeon to see what's going on?
Not many.
You know, not many. And so you combine that with another service, that works out very well. You know, and I think you look at the cost of your staffing 24/7, which is something Leapfrog mandates to have an ICU standard. Like, would you operate for a cardiac surgery in a hospital doesn't have an ICU attending to see your patient? No. And that's the thing that is it, for the safety of his patients and for.
But that went on for years, of course, you know that. But I think what I'm seeing is, if I may, is that this technology is allowing for a much higher level of care and types of services in terms of specialties that ordinarily don't exist in those facilities. So you're able to bring far greater level of expertise to a hospital that doesn't have that as a service at all. I think that's the benefit, or one of them.
And that's why I asked, where are you spending the majority of your time? In suburban settings, or because I would think that's where the greatest need would be.
But I really want to get to the point that, like, let's say big systems, in their smaller hospitals, I mean, you've gone through this, they want to put an ECMO. Oh, how are we going to put an ECMO? We have nobody to take care of the ECMO.
Right.
Or we should have a perfusionist 24/7.
Right.
No, I want to get to the point that, yes, we can put an ECMO, but somebody's taking to take care of the patient for us. We can take this kind of patient. We can take a high-risk cardiac surgery patient. We'll do ECMO backup. We can do a high-risk PCI. Available with Impala, available to us, because there's somebody got to take care of this patient post-op. Right. So you're basically expanding your service, and that's how the reimbursement increase. You're pushing the procedures because you're able to have somebody take care of this patient post-op.
Yeah, I think a nurse, since we're talking about ECMO, I don't think an ECMO specialist, except in unique circumstances where they're working in a big hospital where they have a lot of patients and they see a lot all of the time. Let's just take that out of the equation. I think that, because those are unique. I think, however, the average, well-trained, critical care level, registered nurse in an ICU, similar to a hospital, let's say St. Luke's the Woodlands, Memorial the Woodlands, Conroe Regional, wherever, is more than capable of, with some direction from someone who is responsible, whether it be a teleperfusionist or whatever, turn a dial until the number reads what you want it to read, reducing the flow to 3, increasing the flow to 5, turning the sweep from 4 to 6, and then rechecking the gas, following the circuit or adding fluid because it's chattering and recognizing what that is, and being able to do those things. Do I think they should have access to the negative side of the pump to do a rapid transfusion? No. I think that's way too unsafe and risky. But do I think they should change the oxygenator? No, I don't think they should. But can they recognize, and can the teleperfusionist recognize in advance that, hey, this is trending this direction because you're watching it, and then get the clinician on their way to then work with the nurse, change the unit out, or do whatever else needs to be done from a more aggressive intervention that might need to happen. And that one person can be managing several areas of a city that's on the ground, the boot on the ground, versus the one person in a telemonitoring system that could be watching 3, 4, 5, 6 ECMOs at one time. So you're basically improving the resource utilization formula and tilting it towards adding higher level of service to more hospitals.
Cost effectively.
Cost effectively, yes. Thank you for adding that.
With a high level of expertise behind it. So cost efficient, high level of expertise. What would you want more than that? Cost efficiency level of that is a very important formula that should always people remember that.
Right, and there are hospitals, I don't mean to, please forgive me, but there's many hospitals currently that do not provide ECMO as a therapeutic option because they do not have anyone who can monitor it without shutting their open heart surgery program down.
Right.
And patients that show up there, if they cannot get them moved quickly and they become too unstable to move, languish and probably don't make it when there's a very good chance they could have. So I think this is a social a social issue that we're not taking care of patients the way we should be able to in many hospitals that simply do not have the resources to monitor these devices. That's what I believe.
I agree 100%. And I mean, the whole thing is, and I hate to say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, a good surgeon, any good surgeon can put an ECMO circuit in. And then what happens after that? That's the question.
Well, I was about to bring that point up. That the easy part is putting it in.
Putting them on. That's real easy.
We actually piloted a ER ECMO placement of witness arrests on the northwest side of town, and learned a lot. But we were teaching emergency room physicians and cardiologists and pulmonary critical care, and they're putting it in. I mean, we had the little guy in the closet, the ECMO system in the closet, the cannulas. They're putting them on FEM, VA ECMO, and then once they got them to where they were semi-stabilized or completely stabilized, we took them over to the unit and did what we needed to do. They got a heart cath. They changed out for bigger cannulas, different sites, et cetera. And we had some great saves from that.
Well, the lady, the I forgot her name now. The woman whose husband died. She was her sister.
Well, can't use her name because she was a patient.
That's right.
As
her
well.
sister, right? That's
no,
true.
her husband died.
Her husband died. Her sister worked in the unit.
Right.
And she
witnessed them doing CPR on him.
Yeah.
And she got Takasobos, and she went down, and they put her on VA ECMO there, and she walked out of the hospital.
A year later, she at the New Orleans conference danced on the stage with
Otherwise, she'd been dead.
That's right.
If that happened in any other hospital,
gone.
Yeah.
That didn't have that ability to immediately initiate ECMO. That's right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
See,
Please.
And that's without the heart surgeons there. Heart surgeons, I mean, that was that Desai put it in, or
yeah, that's right.
The ED doctor.
Yes. Yes.
You've seen patients being ventilated like to death before they get transferred to another hospital. If you exactly. Early placement is they succeed much better. They do much better.
And it doesn't even have to be the Avalon if they're not comfortable. They can just put two peripheral venous cannulas in and put one higher than the other, and anybody can. If you can put
a Quentin in.
Yes, you can put that in. Exactly. Very good point.
And see, and that's the thing is, you really early placement. That's all with the critical care team. Get the patient out, transfer early. Don't hold on to the patient.
And also to possibly, by looking at this over the screen, you can say this is not a viable candidate. We should not do treatment by ECMO.
I mean,
there's no reason to do it because this patient will not make it no matter what we do.
Yeah, that's got to be central ECMO, and that's just.
And that's the thing is, you're right. I mean, ECMO success depends on candidate selection. Right. And if you choose the wrong candidate, you have to be the right candidate at the right place, right management. So a lot of things.
You could be called by an ED doc, say that's the only way this guy's going to make it is with ECMO, but you can get the information to go, he's not going to make it even if you do put him on ECMO.
Exactly.
So don't do it.
Very good point. You have two columns and a dividing line smack in the middle that can move left or right. You have every patient on the left side who they're going to make it, whether you put them on ECMO or not. They're going to make it. Then you have the ones over here that aren't going to make it no matter what you do. Mm-hmm. But then you've got that middle, and that middle moves. And it's the patients who, they might make it without ECMO, but it's going to be real tough. And
that's why I liken it to the intubation analogy. That's
yes, it's invasive, but you can always take it out.
But you have a limited amount of time.
Correct.
And if you waste that time,
Yes.
you miss your window of opportunity. That's why I'm just like Dr. Samir. if you think about it, you probably need to intubate them. If you think of ECMO, you probably need to do it.
Yes.
And sometimes they get blinders on, and I'll get this call from the pulmonologist, and then I'll say, well, what's their diagnosis? Why are they in ARDS? Oh, they have pulmonary alveolar hemorrhage. So I'm like, so you've got blood coming out of the ET
stage 4
tube
cancer.
and this, and they're like, I was like, we got to put these people on heparin, right? And
Oh.
now if they're young, there's again, it's still a decision to make.
Sure.
But if they're 80 and have that, that's a non-survivable situation.
Right, but that has always been the criticism, and I think that's going away. It's improved significantly, but it used to be that people believed if you put a patient on ECMO and they survived, they did not need ECMO. And then other people believed that
if you
for
the balloon pump.
Correct. And if you put patients on ECMO and they didn't make it, ECMO doesn't save anybody.
The innovators, the early adopters, the late adopters and the laggards.
And the laggards, exactly.
And that's exactly what it is. You got to, one of the innovators, who I know a lot of people question, was Bud Frazier.
Yes. And they still,
we were putting ECMO in people.
Check my phone. I'm sorry.
We were putting people on ECMO left and right when I was a resident, and everybody's just talking in the background. But you know what? I firmly believe he's one of the reasons why it is where it is.
I think you need to be innovative, and yes, you can make some mistakes in the beginning, but you need to be innovative to help people. And you just, everybody coming to work in the morning wants to do the best for the patients. And if sometimes you're not sure the technology is not going to work or not, I would say go ahead and put it in. If you don't think it's going to work, you always take it out. And stop ECMO. Say take like the VADs.
Yeah, stop.
Like people, we ask you to put a VAD, but then the family decides on hospice later, and turn the VAD off. That's okay.
Right.
Are we good?
I think so. Yes, kind of. Go ahead. Next. Let's just keep going. Oh, you have a slide up there. It's not on. Oh, it's right there. It's right there. Keep going. One more. Yeah.
So a lot of patients, they believe they want to see a second opinion, see another doctor to help them with their situation. A lot of doctors are resistant to that. Having the ICU doctor available that they can talk to, it makes them feel comfortable that there's another opinion, in the situation. You look at the CAT scan a different way, look at the X-ray in a different way.
That's pretty remarkable pathology. Second opinions are that different.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I'll tell you what I really learned that there's a big difference when it comes to lung pathology. Lung pathology is crazy different, and and right now, I'm suspicious of a CAT scan. I get a high-res CT, and a lot of people don't realize that there's a big difference when you get a high-res CT than regular CT. What's going on? And then talk about ECMO now. Now you have to be able to do a lung biopsy on that patient, and how many times you have a lung biopsy goes bad, you need an ECMO support. So you really have to. When you're going to do a lung biopsy, in the back of your mind, have an ECMO circuit available. And again, that takes readiness and experience with having this over and over and over. Not be scared. It's okay, we can put the patient on ECMO. It's a couple of days. I've experienced this before. Lung biopsy, put the patient on ECMO. For some reason, there's our lung transplant physician. He's an amazing guy. And he says, we do not know why patients deteriorate after lung biopsy. We have no idea why, but we're not going to ponder it. We're just going to take care of the patient. And and then 2-3 days, he's an amazing guy. Dr. Wong, he says just we do not know why they deteriorate after lung biopsy. Just put the ECMO and move on.
Yes, that intellectual curiosity that sometimes gets our patients in trouble.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When one thing can fix multiple different diagnoses. It's like pericardial effusions. The patients are like, well, what caused it? Well, I don't know, but this is how you fix it.
Exactly. And you're going to feel much better. And once they feel much better, they say, I'm great, I'm very thankful and appreciative. And there's a lot of patients that want a second opinion. Don't underestimate that. And a lot of doctors get offended when you have a second opinion. Nothing wrong with getting a second opinion. And I'll tell you, I'm a critical care physician, and I believe in patients. We have to do the best thing for them. But the last statement, I'm heavy into it, and I wasn't before. I learned getting a palliative care consult on all these patients. Just give them the options in life. The palliative care guards are much better than me in explaining the choices for terminal patients. Much better than me. They give them different choices, and they'll call me on the phone, tell me, well, that's what we think. And I'll tell you, getting ethics or multiple palliative care, nothing wrong with that. They're much better than me. And I'll tell you, it becomes a mandatory consult for us right now. To put a VAD in any patient is to get a palliative care consult. Mm-hmm. And that really, and the patients are much happier with that. They feel informed, they know their choices.
Well, and they're included in the decision.
Exactly. And here's some financial stuff, the money stuff. Here's the look at 7 ICUs, 2 campuses, 830 board bed academic medical center. I'm a little biased, I know where that medical center is. Different kinds of cases. That medical center is in a weird area. It's on a cusp of 2 counties. One is a very rich county, and one is a medium rich county. And it's very weird, like the kind of patients they see. And it's supposed to be the trauma county also of the hospital. It's a county center. I can tell you as much. But they do private heart surgery big time. So they looked at the case mix, they looked at the, how much they're getting for every case, how much they're saving, length of stay, and the initial capital investment. Which is the biggest deal, the initial wiring. That's the biggest capital investment. The patient will divide into 3 groups. A group with TELE-ICU support, a group without, and a group with the TELE-ICU support, with a logistics center, with like an e-analytics. That logistics center was the first innovative idea of having a center that can manage the patients and manage the transfers. And really, any hospital, academic center, they make that investment in a center, should use it for both. That makes sense to me. Okay, it's just use it for your ICU care and as your transfer center. You have somebody you're paying 24/7 anyway, and you have them, then they know critical care and they know where the best place for the hospital the patient should go. What else beats that? It's better than calling the nursing supervisor and waiting for whatever bed is available. Is it the CCU, MICU, Neuro ICU? Like, controversy, a VAD with a bleed, where are we going to put them in Neuro ICU? Should put them in the cardiac surgery ICU? And like, I'm a biased person, put them in the cardiac surgery ICU, have neurosurgery staff look at the patient. Because you have to look at the best person who manages the patient is the cardiac surgeons, or the cardiac surgery ICU attendings. Neurosurgery is best at dealing with the head situation, which needs to be taken care of, but also they need to take care of the whole body. We sometimes forget about that. And that, like a logistics center, can manage all kinds of studies, can manage a lot of things. I think really take advantage of your logistics center. A lot of people, unfortunately, are not doing that. Now, the telemedicine pharmacist, I'm not that smart in choosing antibiotics and interactions. My PharmDs, they're amazing at it. I will always leave these things to the PharmDs. Antibiotics, drug interaction, PharmDs are amazing at it. And again, this whole, we're talking about the admission request, medical patients versus surgical patients, where should they go? That's the discussion all the time. Should we put them, where should we board them? And here's the cost. I'll let you look at the slide. And just the abbreviations I had to learn. The critical care and then major critical care. Whatever that means, okay? And documentation and over. And as all of you know, the reimbursement for ECMO was good, then went down, then it's back again.
Right. Yes. They reversed
they
reversed it completely.
Exactly.
Went right back to the way it used to be.
Exactly.
And I don't mean to continue to interrupt this thing, but there was so much controversy around that. Now I don't know this 100%, so I'm going to make make the disclosure that I am not 100% certain of this. However, I keep hearing on the word on the street was that one of the temporary VAD companies was going to CMS and influencing, which CMS is wrong to have done that, but influencing this decision. Have you heard anything about this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, to be honest.
Okay, good. So we'll just leave it at that. But the big companies, LivaNova, Medtronic, all of the big ECMO companies, Getting, ELSO, and STS, all went to CMS and said, you've got to reverse this. This is not appropriate at all. And that's what resulted in the reversal. Thank God, because it was a nightmare.
Absolutely.
$8,000 to do a VV ECMO. Can you imagine? That doesn't even pay the cost of
equipment,
of cannulation.
Yeah. So I just want to show you one thing. The reduction in length of stay, groups without TELE-ICU, 10.4 days. Remember, they mix all the patients together. Groups with TELE-ICU support, 9.7 days. Groups TELE-ICU support and logistics center, 8.8 days. The logistics center also can help place patients in LTACs. Again, find an LTAC that takes a vent, a trach, and a dialysis. That's a major dilemma in any place. So you have to know what your LTACs where you go to.
Well, and you get them to the right ICU, just like you said before.
That's
so
right.
versus coming into the medical ICU and whoa, well, this is more surgical, or this needs to be this, and then transfer them to another place. So
and then let the teams run around behind the patient. Oh, right. He's in medical today, he's surgical tomorrow, and keep moving the patients. I mean, it's inappropriate, to be honest with you. This is the cost adjustment and documentation. I'll tell you, maybe I over-document, but see, my laptop is next to my camera laptop. When I'm looking at the camera, I'm just documenting on the side. Here's the financial outcomes. I'll let you look at it. That's really important because, again, whereas technology and saving patients, we have the reality of Obamacare, Trump care. Who care after that? I'm not sure. I love that slide because you can tell I'm a proponent of the logistics center. I'm a big proponent of it. You're moving patients out quickly, putting them in the right place. You're doing the right thing, putting them the right resources. For sure, it's going to save money. There's no way you think it's not going to save money. You're using length of stay, you're getting the patient out, you can take more patients in, you can do more cases. You have less CMS issues, less cases with sepsis, less cases with pneumonia, less skin breakdown, less DVTs. Just do things the same way every day. Uniformity is very important. I think you should innovate and be uniform. That's very important. That balance is very important. And having protocols helps you to be uniform, and then also, but you're able to innovate.
Just kind of an aside for that, regarding the best practice adherence, do you have like a checklist of the core measures? You go over every patient when you're making rounds to make sure that they got like SCDs and DVT prophylaxis? I mean, it's probably just become second nature to you, but is that something they report back to you every day, that and the usage of Foley's and central lines and all that stuff? Are you in charge of that on the rounds?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. How long before should we take it out, or should we leave it, should we put it in? But I'll tell you, but sometimes I go the way that sometimes infection control doesn't agree with me. This patient needs a Foley, put it in and leave it in. I'd rather the patient piece in a Foley than having skin breakdown from urinating.
Absolutely.
And
or if you're worried about the renal function,
exactly.
monitoring that.
Exactly. So I mean, sometimes the infection control look at their angle. They're not going to have UTIs, but they're not looking at skin breakdown. So you have to look at the whole, globally, the whole picture. That's the thing. I'd rather patient has a void, maybe I take a risk UTI than have a skin breakdown. If you've seen a bad skin breakdown, you'll never forget it. When you see bone that you can, I have one of the nurses, she says that, unfortunately, little joke, tells me, Dr. Samir, I can hide my fist into the wound. And when you see something like that, and I'm sure you have, you'll never forget it.
Right.
And the patients die from that.
Well, that's also looking at the patient. Are they ambulatory? They're able to get up? Is this person wheelchair bound when they came in? I mean,
Lucid.
I know, yeah. Well, and we have on our Epic generated orders reasons for keeping the Foley in. And so at least we do agree with, in our hospital system, with the infectious disease people, we have reasons for it so they don't ever bother us, as long as you document it.
That's it. That's what I always say. The patients are going to fall off the track, and you just have to document where they're falling off the track. Like you're not going to use 70 cc's per kilo for ventilation. They call them off the track patients. Huge patients, huge belly, and you really need a big tidal volumes. You just have to document it. Why are you going to fall off the track? Again, I'm going to remind you again, that picture is very important. Everybody just look at it and understand. You guys are much smarter than me. The complexity of what you do is on the left. So you try to combine the complexity of what you're doing and what I'm trying to manage. And again, it's my little setup. And as like I said, my one laptop is for the camera, another laptop for documentation. And my brain. I could not put my brain in the picture. Anyway, and that's the thing, is you're trying to coordinate that effort, what's happening at the bedside. You don't have to have a bulky situation like you're having at the bedside. So we talk about cost, here's the cost. On the left is thousands and thousands, and you guys know that. And on the right is just a simple setup. It's the consult service, which I believe people should start with that like that. I mean, the consult service, get to know the people on the ground. If you want to expand to the e-care system, you think you can do that, you can afford doing that, then you should. But I do prefer the consult service. You get to know the staff, you get to know everyone, and you get to be involved with the care. And I think it helps the relationship become stronger. You can transition to e-care as you expand more. So I think you should start slow. That's my little opinion. And again, the initial investment is going to be only the camera and the 2 laptops for attending. So you have the cameras, 2 laptops for attending, and you have to pay the staff, obviously. That's it. So you have staff costs. The hardware cost is not that much because you have and then the camera. That's a fixed cost nobody can change, unfortunately. And unfortunately, like I was saying before, it's one camera company that produces the camera. Nice investment they made. This is a little live action, which is very. This was not like a code or anything. Yeah.
You want me to start the video?
Yes.
Start the video, please.
It's just a simple situation. Are we able to?
Are we all okay? Are we okay?
Obviously, you cannot hear the stuff from the other side. It's coming into my earphones.
Okay, I would give him a liter of LR now, okay? A liter of LR. Okay, please, yeah.
This was patient was
okay, thank you.
vomiting for 2
So
weeks.
we're gonna be giving him a lot of boluses tonight, okay?
And
whenever his pressure drops like that, give him a liter, okay?
Just keep going fluids. That's it.
Yeah. The treating numbers.
Exactly.
The real number you got to treat is what causes
Let me know
it.
his hemoglobin less than 8, okay?
And just I give them parameters and just keep going.
Hemoglobin less than 8.
That's it.
Okay? Thank you.
You don't have to keep guessing. I'm going to give hemoglobin less than 8. We're going to give multiple boils. It's very simple. Those are not code. Again, a simple consultation. So I just want to tell you how it works. That's it. So I want to thank a few gangsters I worked with that taught me a lot about MCS and ECMO, and they're true gangsters. Now they're dispersed all over the country, and really they're all very good friends. I enjoy hanging out with them. They taught me everything I know about MCS and ECMO, and I owe them a lot. I want to help teach them a little about telemedicine. I'm good.
We're good?
Thank you all. Any questions?
Very good. Very good. That was excellent.
I got a quick one. So, speaking of burnout and the rounding and the Houston traffic and all those kind of things that we'd have to deal with.
Hey, Magic. Open
As
phone lines.
physicians like yourself get into later years, kind of get tired of dealing with that. Do you see this expanding the life expectancy of your career as a pulmonary critical care physician, because you're taking that stress off of I'm going in every day, kind of like a regular job, and dealing with the. Does this take some of the pressures off of the personal interactions and the patient interactions on a day-to-day basis because you're not physically there? You think that would extend your career as a pulmonary critical care physician?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think right now, I mean, I love going to the hospital during the daytime, doing my transplant case reviews. I enjoy that. I like the engagement. But I also like to take my calls for the ICU at nighttime. I don't leave my house. It's my house. I'm drinking my coffee. It will make it like, why would I not do that some more? Like, I always think to myself, I enjoy doing it. I love the interaction. I love dealing with the patients. And now it's cutting down a lot of the things I don't want to deal with, the driving and,
the physical toll.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Especially the driving.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, think about it. We waste time in
how many
Houston,
hours?
How many hours a week driving?
Yes. So if I could ask everyone, please, a favor. Is Bill with us? No. Is he going to come back? Yeah. There he is. He's right there. I see him. Could we please, if you don't mind, we're going to bring in our next speaker, Bill, William DeBois. He's the president of AMSEC. Hey, Bill. Bill, I'm so sorry we ran a little late, but this was just such a fascinating thing. I wanted to bring you in because I think that, being the president of our national organization, you may have some input in this and some questions for Dr. Samir. And if you'd like to also give your presentation, and then we can maybe all discuss all of this at one time.
No quick questions right now. I see you have your handsome twin brother there with you, right next to you, right?
Yeah, Dr. Yes, we are.
We spend a lot of money on hair products. A lot of money on hair products.
Yes.
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 My wife has to shop for hair products every day.
I'm using Rogaine.
Oh.
Only the problem is it gets on my ears. That's harsh. Okay.
Yeah, we just had one of the, I guess, a physician leader with one of the big manufacturing companies give us a talk on the training of new personnel and how it's going to differ. The training hours will be less, and specializing will be more, will be increased. For TAVR specialist, maybe surgical valve specialist, ablation specialist, coronary artery bypass. And one of the questions came up, how would they take call? Like if everyone's specializing, you wouldn't really have a generalist kind of surgeon to care for any kind of emergencies. Any thoughts on that?
I don't know if there's not enough specialists. I mean, I feel comfortable taking care of pretty much all the things you've just brought up, and I take quite a bit of call, as Joe and Mike know.
A lot.
With the number of, the amount of attrition that cardiac surgeons have seen in the last 10, 15 years, it sounds idealistic. I just don't know how realistic it is unless you force, say for instance in Texas, a certificate of need type status, where you shrink the number of hospitals that actually can provide those services. Because right now in Houston, it's still the Wild West, and every hospital that has 60 beds has a heart program. So it's pretty tough. I mean, it sounds great. I'd love to take just valve call or whatever, but that's not my life right now.
Being multifunctional is, I think, it'll be very important. Bill, excuse me 1 second, since I did not actually introduce you, but at least I wanted to get you on. If you would please indulge me 1 second. William DeBois is a perioperative services director and chief perfusionist at New York Presbyterian Hospital, Weill Cornell Medical Center in New York. After graduating from State University of New York at Stony Brook, he started his career in Brooklyn, New York, and after 7 years moved to Cornell. In almost 37 years now as a perfusionist, his programs have performed over 45,000 open heart procedures. Bill's passion for perfusion technology led him to work in blood conservation and safety, for which he has over 100 publications and presentations. He has been active at AMSECT, and currently AMSECT is the American Society of Extracorporeal Technology, and currently he serves as president. Additionally, he has been involved with perfusion licensure and served as chair of the licensing committee in New York. As president of AMSECT, Bill has worked hard to get more perfusionists involved in the professional organization and has helped to improve membership to over 2,000 members. He continues to work at improving membership and helping to engage perfusionists to adopt AMSECT standards and guidelines. I think it's very important. Bill believes that this will improve the performance of perfusionists and ultimately improve the care of patients undergoing cardiopulmonary bypass. Bill, welcome to MediWeb, PerfWeb, Perfusion Education, and to our humble studio here and very esteemed panel. I will like to say, if I may, I think everybody here has heard the news that President Trump ended up just sort of going to the DMZ and calling dear leader, and he crossed over into North Korea, and they had a little handshake and photo op and then an hour discussion. So in many ways, Bill being here today, although not physically, is kind of like Bill has come into North Korea, or it could be the other way around. And so we've been somewhat adversarial, not Bill and I personally, but the organizations, my organizations and AMSECT. But Bill, listen, my compliments to you on helping to build the bridge, and I want you to know that I'm building on my half, and I think we're meeting in the middle somewhere. So I'm glad you're here, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, Joe, thank you for the opportunity. I guess you had mentioned AMSECT and maybe your group, but I think there's a lot of different ways that people learn things. I don't know if any of you are golfers. There's ways to swing a golf club, but many different instructors show tips, and I don't think there is one best way to train people. So any opportunities we get, this training does help improve, ultimately, patient care. I guess my talk's going to be a little more administrative than what we had been listening to. Joe asked me to talk about, I'm going to go to it now, to talk about AMSECT's, our vision for perfusion. Joe, is that coming up?
Not yet. David, what's he got to do? I think you need to share your screen. Share screen. Man, all the old people, we all have it. We get there eventually. Mm-hmm. But there you go.
How's that?
So there it is. You're there.
Okay. So again, thank you for letting me talk with the group and help. Hopefully, we can collaborate on some more education issues. So AMSECT, the mission of AMSECT was to improve patient care and safety by providing continuing education to meet the professional needs of perfusionists. AMSECT's been around since 1964. AMSECT is not just me. We have a board of directors. Jim Rager is the president-elect. He'll be president next year. Our treasurer, Scott Snyder, and Theron Poor as secretary. And then we have zone directors that represent the different regions throughout the country. Here they are. We actually have two new zone directors, as Dan Gomez and Rob Longenecker have trialed off the board. And we have Greg Mork representing Zone 2 and Isaac Chinapan for Zone 3, so we welcome them. So what is AMSECT? It's the professional organization for perfusionists. since 1964. We have a management group that helps organize us, the board, and organize our meetings and some of the education. We develop leadership education. And now I'm actually excited over this. Memberships, over 2,000 members worldwide. And that's a little over 40% of the perfusionists in the country. There are about 4,000 perfusionists. While that doesn't sound like a lot, if you think of AORN, there are 1 million nurses, operating room nurses, and 100,000, or only 10% of them are in their organization, AORN. But in that 100,000, that's a big number, so there's a lot of strength in that. And they were able to influence the OR dress attire, which is a big thing. Actually, we may be seeing some changes with that. And those kind of decisions are actually enforced by the Joint Commission and CMS when they come in for their reviews. We do provide education through our meetings and through AMSEC University. Good to hear that we're upgrading AMSEC University now. We have meetings. We're down to 1 to 2 meetings. We combine the adult and pediatric meeting now. We support perfusionists with other types of products such as Joint Commission kits, education on various technologies. There's a camaraderie, helps primarily at the meetings. It's interesting, the online meetings versus the in-person. A lot of people comment that a lot of what they learn is some of the post-meeting discussion. So that's interesting to see. We have many ways for members to become involved with AMSEC, all of our committees. Achievement recognition, the planning committee, some government relations. And that's an important committee right now, government relations, with some of the ECLS changes and CMS reimbursement. We had a group that was part of those discussions along with other ECLS members. We have the International Consortium of Evidence-Based Medicine, who help guide some of our publications. They also help develop the standards and guidelines that we are using now in both adult pediatrics and mechanical support. And here's some other committees. We have Leadership Symposium, develop leaders in perfusion to help make the groups even stronger. And then some of the other task force we have are with the blood banks, American Academy, Joint Commission, ELSO, etc. So this is what we're excited about right now. Membership, we got it back up to levels of almost close to 10 years ago. There had been a steady decline. Whether that has to do with newer perfusionists, there are trends in people being non-joiners. So we've gone outreach with the groups, perfusion contract groups, and schools and programs, and we sometimes develop packages that make it a little more attractive for them. Here's a letter that I had recently written to membership, talking about the benefits of AMSEC, because I believe increased membership does help us in many ways. It gives us a stronger voice. It helps us enforce and model the standards and guidelines to improve practice. And these are important mechanisms that we're using to help improve the profession. So one of the newer pieces that we're putting out is the standards and guidelines. There have been questions about that. Who all had input? The board reviews this. The AMSEC board reviews the standards and guidelines. Then it's put out to membership for review and actually vote. So they were both approved. And most recently, the pediatric standards and guidelines were approved. We get questions about those regarding how pumps are set up, how teams are staffed, coverage response, education, and many pieces like that. So why would you want to join a professional organization? Primarily professionalism and collaboration. We are collaborating with the surgical organizations, the anesthesia groups like SCA, and AORN to help develop some ideas in our standards and guidelines and help them to understand what we do. A lot of questions come in how ECMO systems are stored. It's common practice to have them stored for 30 days. And sometimes when an operating room nurse sees that, they are alarmed. But there's strong data to support that kind of storage. It also helps us to get out information to our membership and the profession. Many perfusionists specifically are very busy, and we can help them with new trends. We were talking about ECLS, remote kind of technology. Those kind of ideas can be discussed in our journals and at meetings. Legislation changes, we discussed that, and even support for licensure in various states. Why join? A shared common interest. Most professions have such a thing. It helps engage individuals both in the profession and to look after the public interest. Networking. Joining a profession association is a win-win situation for students because they go to meetings and network with professionals and possibly jobs. It's a nice way to learn about new techniques, speak with the speakers after talks, and get insightful reviews on that. Regulatory protection. In some states, licensure, either who does what in the profession, we can help protect that, and actually not just protect it, but to provide the best care for the patients. And that's how it should be looked at. We work with the groups on education, standardizing education so that the professions and the perfusionists in the schools are all trained in a standardized way. And again, professional development. Why join? For credentialing, different credentials on ECLS, or VAD support, blood conservation. We have the IBBM. You get training in that as well. Professional recognition, just like physician colleagues, different designations for perfusionists on different skills they can learn and acquire. We also have professional recognition, the Gibbon Award. This is an award to honor a candidate making significant contributions in cardiopulmonary bypass, interrelating with the field of extracorporeal technology. It's one of our highest awards. The AMSECT Award of Excellence, another form of recognition presented annually to the perfusionist who demonstrates the work of excellence, exemplifying creativity and intellectual honesty. And the Perfusionist of the Year. So from the forms of education, we have our AMSECT University, and that's being updated now. We have the International Conference. There's training, pre-education going on at the conference, and then scientific abstracts that are presented representing some of the cutting-edge research by both students and professionals. We have a pediatric conference. We do combine at the international meeting. We have joint commission toolkits that we are putting together to help individuals when they do have a joint commission visit. And a lot of ECMO education or ECLS with some upcoming webinars. Safety education is one. We do a lot of safety polls on this. And these are some of the meetings that we have had: the Leadership Symposium, the Pediatric meeting, and then our bigger meeting is the AMSECT International. And this year was actually one of the largest meetings we had, with almost 700 delegates in attendance. So this was very good. It was in Nashville. So the cost to join AMSECT, it's not free, but it's $225 a year. 60 cents a day. You can't buy many things for 60 cents anymore. There are also group membership discounts, and they vary on the number of members that you can get to sign on. We encourage individuals that are members to recruit others. And again, this is important for the profession to help represent us. We do have a stronger voice and providing education, maintaining our standards and guidelines, or enforcing the standards and guidelines. So why join it? Again, in review, broadens your knowledge. I know Joe discusses some of the education he provides on MediWeb and PerfWeb, which are excellent sources as well. It can charge a career, either new groups that you may, a career change for a different hospital, for a career, or even just helping to make your career a little more complex by learning new techniques. Keeps you fresh, helps you build a better resume, enhances your network, and this is important for when you do have issues. Some people in smaller programs develop collaborative relationships with maybe larger programs and help them when interesting cases or complex cases come to town, and they can learn or manage these patients well. Helps you become a better leader, organizational skills, become a mentor. In our leadership program, the participants in that actually become mentors for the year for perfusionists looking to take a leadership type track. Helps you make new friends, and again, strengthen numbers. It's also a way to give back to your profession, professionally to participate in the organization, which is important, and to stay engaged and motivated. So, my question, I continue to ask, how can AMSEC serve you better? We also actually have a survey with the American board, with the results should be coming out this fall. After all the research are completed, they're required to fill out a survey, and fortunately the American board, we were able to participate with them for a survey for every perfusionist or every certified perfusionist in the country, which is around 4,000 people. And it has to do with education, some kind of staffing questions. And it will be the most comprehensive and largest survey ever performed for perfusion. So we're excited about those results. And that is the end of my talk. If there are any questions.
Yes, thank you, Bill. That was very, very good. And let me see, how can we get Bill back up? Oh, just stop sharing your screen. Yeah.
You're back on, right?
No, we need you. We need your camera. There you go. Yeah, hey, there you go. Apparently that's a Yankees jersey back there.
Yeah, Mickey Mantle.
Oh, really? Is it signed?
It is not. No, I have a picture of him signed, but no.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Well, the only two perfusionists at the table are Mike and I. So I think that we may have some specific questions, but I feel like Dr. Samir, are you a member of your professional societies?
Absolutely.
Are
Yes,
you? You're a member of STS? Are you a member of AMSEC?
Presently, no.
Presently, no. Are you? Do you have any professional societies you can be a member of?
Cell Society, Cells Associated Society, and the Medical Device.
But you are a member of those societies.
I am.
Okay, and are you a member of the STS?
No.
Okay, so why? I'm not a member of AMSEC, but I am a member of STS.
Well, first of all, I do have a baseball signed by Mickey Mantle. So just want to let you, maybe we can get together and I'll show you my baseball, and I can see that beautiful jersey, by the way, Bill. Anyway.
Would imagine maybe some Nolan Ryan memorabilia.
Maybe so. Maybe we can do that. I've been a member on and off through the years. Just recently, about 5 years ago when I joined a new company, Joe's company, at that point, got out of it. I can't really give you a good reason why I did and why I have not gone back in. I think there are good things for it. I enjoy the CREF meeting every year, which I think is a great meeting. Been to the international conference many, many times too. Probably more than anything, I've got about 2 more years to really do this. And I figure at this point, it just is not, with only 2 years left to go, there's really not much more that I feel like it can offer me. Probably a very simplistic view, but that's kind of where I am.
Okay.
Well, Bill, I'm gonna take a big hand grenade, real big one, and I'm just gonna pull the pin and throw it towards you and say, here's the damn grenade. Do whatever you need with it. But I can tell you my story, and I think you're really doing a great job. Let me say first, of changing the paradigm of the society, the dynamic of it, the mission of it. I think you've done a fantastic job. However, I have over the past 13 years now, I am blocked, absolutely not allowed to advertise or to put on your event calendar my meeting that I was doing in New Orleans. It is not permitted. There was a time when, not you, but the organization under different leadership scheduled a meeting after I had scheduled my meeting in the same place, literally down the street from each other with only days of each other. And it created a lot of confusion. And we call that in the business of doing meetings predatory scheduling, and not really a cool thing to do. You guys had a recent, a few years ago now, but you recognized different, you called it the legends, but different people in perfusion that had been in perfusion for a very long period of time. It had to be, I think, a minimum of 30 years, and had also contributed in some way to our profession. And I think just sitting here at the table, Mike Brown, who's given any number of lectures and training with various different people at different hospitals, ECMO training of nurses at different hospitals around the Houston area, had been in the profession. He's been 37 years now. You're 37 years. I'm 40 years. It's hard for me to believe that you look that much younger than me, but yet you are still close to me in the number of years. And there was even Gary Cornelius from Houston Methodist, had been in the profession for 45 years. And somehow none of these people, including myself, made the cut. And then I recently got a call, it's probably been 6-8 months ago, I guess, from Brian Lick from perfusion.com, and he actually called me on my telephone, and a very nice conversation, but he specifically asked me to stop advertising any of my educational programs on his event calendar, these are all ostensibly event calendars that are meant to disseminate information to the community at large. And one of your missions, and I think one of all of our missions, is to promote the advancement of our profession. So I guess I threw the bomb out there, and here it is. But if you want to know why I'm not a member of AMSECT, that's the reason. Yeah.
No, these are good questions, Joe. Critical questions. And some of the reason why I got involved with AMSECT. Some of the thoughts were maybe we weren't as inclusive, we were too inclusive or exclusive. Sometimes when you mention where you were nominated for that I think it was the 50th anniversary probably meeting. Mm-hmm. Some of that comes from nominations from members. So sometimes people may get excluded if they are not members. I think AMSECT could probably do a better job looking out for that and sorting out people. I mean, Texas is, the home of open heart surgery, so there are a lot of legends out there.
The epicenter, certainly, yes.
I had an opportunity to go out there a year or so ago. It was an impressive visit. The advertising piece. I mean, I guess my vision for that is the way like STS does it. They kind of endorse a lot of other meetings. So if a region wants to have something, the STS gets their name on there. I don't know the intricacies of how they manage and set up the meetings, but they can get their name on there. They kind of endorse it. They may help organize it for content. And that's how I would like to see it. you can understand AMSEC needs to make some money to help with some of this education. I mean, I see the way you do it. It's got to be an expensive way, more so than my studio here. But I mean, I would see something like that AMSEC, if you have in a meeting, some way we can help endorse it, maybe help with speakers for you, and work with that. Maybe some kind of the sharing could be with membership. Part of the fee would be to sign up members. And I think that's a win-win for everybody like that. And that's something I'm trying to still push forward. And I have another year to go on the in this position.
Are you going to run for re-election?
Sorry?
Can you run for re-election?
You know, I can actually, yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll join and vote. Okay, if you want to do that. So I think that at the end of the day, we have to just say what was, but what is and what will be. We have an opportunity here, an opportunity to work together. I think that, yes, I think that having, and I think that's why I love this panel so much, the diversification of it. I've got an anesthesiologist, a heart failure specialist. I've got a cardiac surgeon who's also a heart failure specialist. I've got a perfusionist, and I have an industry person. And, you know, we've had so many different types of people up here that diversification, that inclusiveness really matters. And I think it would help with, you know, you guys as well. And I feel like you guys, I don't want to make this a one-sided thing. I think that if we were to be able to come up with some type of program or plan where we were working together for a common goal, you would help me too. So this isn't a one-sided equation. I think that that I would benefit greatly from a much better relationship with AMSEC than I currently have. So I'm extending my hand out to you, and hopefully we can continue these discussions and make that happen, because I do think the organization is important. I do think having a professional society is important. I do think having structure and guidelines and all the things that the STS provides for you and for the American Academy of Anesthesiology provides for you, or cardiac anesthesiology. I think these are all very important things. So that's my opinion.
I mean, and both you and Brian, you provide a great product for people, for perfusionists. So there's a reason why you're still doing this. And it's a reason that we learned from you as well. You're probably more nimble than we are. We have a board. When we want to do something, you have to get a big vote and such. And that can slow us down, but it makes it possibly a more thoughtful process. But no, I'm excited about this, getting to meet you, speaking with you prior to this meeting, and your nice public commitment to collaborate with us. That's great.
Well, thank you. So what do you think, Bill? What do you think about all of this discussion today about ECMO monitoring, doing it with telemedicine, perfusion telemonitoring of ECMO? I don't know if you listened to Dr. Samir's presentations and all the discussion. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, with the ECMO, I guess it varies in different states of who can actually run it. I like the idea of, in maybe even smaller communities where you do have a telemedicine type setup, that someone with a lot of experience can be reviewing it. You probably need a couple people on that, in that center, like the call-in center or the monitoring center, to make it much more reliable. Because if someone was to get involved with something, maybe another hospital may be having an issue. And I think that could provide a great deal of quality and expertise to smaller programs that do it, and make this technology more available. I guess in the scheme of things, when they say a perfusionist would be a lot of money, it's actually a small expense. But physically on a perfusionist to run these cases 24/7, because we have experience like that. Some centers we're involved with run 24/7, and others we do like a hybrid model where we train the nurses and in some respiratory therapists to run ECMO. In New York State, for example, they have to be licensed to be involved with it. So the unlicensed ECMO technician, I believe, couldn't occur in New York. But the training, getting more people involved, the systems have evolved tremendously from when I started doing an ECMO 30 years ago. They primarily bled to death, or the oxygenators would all leak within 6 hours or so. And the anticoagulation, physicians were able to develop models for anticoagulation that greatly improved or reduced bleeding, which made these a lot more successful now. We put people on that previously had the contraindications for ECMO, chemotherapy, or age, and now we're getting them off bypass. It's probably one of the biggest things in my career, ECMO, that we see 30–40% survival, and some categories even higher than that. But in general, it's someone that would have died after like a cardiac arrest, and now they're surviving. That's pretty amazing. And I think you need better training throughout the multidisciplinary team to be able to get those results. The physicians, nursing care for them, respiratory, and perfusion.
I agree with you.
So, yeah, the technology is a big bit, and I believe that's what's making a big difference. Some use the Spectrum technology where they can see the monitoring, or Epic, and to see the monitoring of the devices that the patients are on and the physiological monitoring, which is important that someone could be viewing it, an expert outside of the hospital, just for further support.
Well, you know, I think that we basically are one epidemic. It's my favorite saying. We're one epidemic away from not being able to manage all of the potential ECMO patients that could come our way. And H1N1 stressed our system tremendously. And you still have patients that need to have heart surgery. So, yeah, and I think you said it, there's 4,300 plus or minus perfusionists in the entirety of North America, and you have 4 million nurses. And it essentially becomes a numbers game. And if one perfusionist can manage 4 or 6 nurses and ECMO patients remotely, then that's going to allow for more technology to be available to those people. That's what I think. Okay, I had a couple of questions, if I could. I want to plug, since you said, Dr. Samir, you mentioned Dr. Lumsden. Him and Steve Igo with his pumps and pipes meeting. That's a thinking outside of the box meeting.
Absolutely.
That they talk about, they bring in oil and gas. NASA. Medicine. And, you know, have you been to the meeting?
Yes.
Have you talked there?
No.
No? He doesn't invite me to talk there either, but but I do recommend it. It's a great meeting. And that's another way to collaborate, I think, is not only interdisciplinary within medicine, but collaborating with people outside of medicine. So Dr. Lumsden and Steve Igo, I think, deserve a plug for their meeting that they put together. Pumps and Pipes, one of the best meetings I've ever been to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, how many times, by you doing telemedicine, have you actually kept, you talked about calling at the appropriate time, how many times have you kept a staff surgeon from having to get up out of their bed to go in to look at the patient to realize there's nothing that they need to do that day because they can't get all of the right information that they want on the telephone, and they just go in because it's easier?
I'll tell you, I mean, I cannot even count. It's numerous. Like, I cannot count. And sometimes I'll just tell them, I will call them before they come to the hospital. I don't think you should come in because there's nothing you can do. You just have to do conservative right now. You just, in the morning, to declare itself. You should do something or not. But, you know, you have to give them the right information. It builds credibility with you, the surgeons. If you need them to come in right now, they can come in right now. If you don't need them to come in right now, then they don't need to come in.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
It would certainly take, you know, from my standpoint, some of the burden off of me having to wake up, become clear thinking, which, you're trained that way. But that's why I try to get as much information as possible as on my phone through Telegram to be able to make that decision. I guess I'm used to it. We do have in-house nurse practitioners now, but a lot of those are varying degrees of skill levels, and it takes time to gather confidence, and it's if it could be more standardized with that, if they're not going to provide an in-house pulmonary critical care physician or an experienced pulmonary critical care nurse practitioner or PA, then yeah, that would definitely, I would feel much more comfortable with, especially being an anesthesiologist and a pulmonary critical care CV anesthesiologist. I would have no trouble going back to sleep.
Exactly. Mike, what's your thoughts on all of this?
I look at it from the ECMO standpoint. I just see it as something that we're going to have to do because of the proliferation that we've seen in ECMO coverage. I mean, we go now with our small company in Houston, very seldom, less than 2 weeks in between our ECMO runs. And some of these ECMO runs are long, and they really hammer the staff. And trying to get someone to join your staff with already ECMO experience is rare these days. So when you add up all those little bullet points, it makes it very, very difficult to feel like you can continue the pace that we have been doing over the last couple of years. And I'm sure most people in the country feel the same way. There's got to be another alternative, and I think this would be a great tool to allow us to accomplish that.
Yeah, it's almost got to be not even a seasonal thing for you guys.
No, it's not.
It's continuous.
It is continuous. Let me I have a follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
You said you were about 2 years out.
About
from
2
hanging up
years
your
out.
clamps.
That's true.
Okay? For the last time, on the hook.
The golden tubing clamp.
Golden
yes.
tubing clamps, exactly. But I'm going to get you a pair. But would this, if you had the ability to do what Dr. Samir is doing from your home office built with a telemonitoring platform, would this extend your career?
Yeah, it probably would. As everyone will probably feel, the hardest part about perfusion is being on call and getting woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning for another cath lab disaster. And it's like, oh, here we go again. I just did it Friday night, as a matter of fact. And, if you had a situation, as Dr. Samir is talking about, that you can stay at home, look what you need to do the same thing that you would do if you were on site. If you could do it off site, it certainly would extend people's careers.
Here's another question. So say this becomes, well, it's not the standard, but in order for it to become the standard, and for guys like you that want to retire but still do this, would that case count towards your pump cases?
I would almost pose that question to Bill. What would be your considerations on that, Bill?
That would be a new category.
Right, exactly.
And it's something that they need to look at. It's a pretty cool idea to have someone experienced.
I mean, I think that would be the benefit of it. You've got guys that are very experienced, can do this stuff in their sleep.
Yeah.
And if they want to do it for another 5 or 10 years, it'd be a shame to put them out to pasture when they could
Still contribute.
get in there, get out of bed, and sit in their underwear and give advice.
Okay, as long as they only have a one-way camera.
Well, you'd have to wear a T-shirt. But
Back to the question, though. I've been calling you Bill. If it's William, my apologies. I don't know if Bill's okay to. Yeah, I'm with you. As they did, I believe I was one of the first people. One of my things that I really accomplished in perfusion is I wrote the American board, and I told them that you're going to have to allow for off-pump cases to be considered part of your 40 required cases a year. I think I was one of the very first perfusionists to contact them. That's all. My first response back from them was, no, there's plenty of cases out there. And my response back to them was, well, one day it won't be.
Yeah.
And I think your comment about creating a new category is what we're going to have to do with these things as we see.
And maybe give those cases a half a credit or a quarter of a credit or something.
And that
I
has
don't
to
know.
be, I think so. And that has to be a collaboration because it's the board, the American board that dictates that. But again, a strong professional society with strong leadership is going to talk, is going to represent their constituency, which is their members.
Right.
Or which are their members, as the case may be.
We have a simulation category, and if you've done simulation, it's a lot different than doing an actual case with the human being on the table. But they count those as cases as well.
But it has to be high-def sim. It has to be an entire case. There's a lot of rules associated with that. So it's not just as simple as a 15-minute simulation. It has to be a full, you go on bypass, clamp, plege, the whole 9 yards. So it takes as long to do the simulation as it does an actual case for it to count.
Right.
Mike, any comments about all of this that we've talked about today, both representation and from a telemedicine perspective?
I'm a numbers guy, and from a numbers perspective, telemedicine works. We're seeing it. I mean, for example, early on in the program I'd mentioned that the Cleveland Clinic posted some results of 60% less calls in the middle of the night, right? To where individuals don't have to get up. I think that's significant. It prevents burnout, and it fosters a better work environment. In addition to that, back to the numbers, it's in 2014, CMS came out and looked at how many telemedicine ICU hospitals were currently out there. And in 2002, there were 16, right? And now there's 213 by the end of 2010. So CMS is embracing it by looking at the facts, by looking at the numbers, and from a compensation standpoint, they're embracing it because didn't you mention that they're continuing to provide additional funds to?
Absolutely, because you're reducing like ventilation pneumonia, sepsis, DVTs, things like that, and you get reimbursed from CMS for not having these complications.
So there's definitely some parallels, and I think it needs to be looked at and considered for ECMO as well. So
Very good. I think that's a very, very thoughtful. And you are a numbers guy, and we appreciate that about you. I'll tell you my first-hand experience with something that is somewhat similar to this. We were out together, and it was before we had started drinking, and you got called, which is rare, okay, for you, but we had gotten called to a hospital. One of your surgeons that you work with had some kind of endovascular procedure they were doing, and you needed to go assist with the, various different devices they needed to use. And you had questions about what to tell them, what would be the best option. And you had me hold my phone up to the thing, FaceTiming to someone else while they were doing whatever they were doing to help give you some guys. This was somebody who was in a completely different state. And that's, I think, the beauty of telemedicine is you could be in a different country.
Actually, that's what we're working on right now.
Matter where you are.
And it had nothing to do with my product. It had everything to do with the patient. And we needed some coils. And there were a variety of coils on a cart. And the physician needed them. I wasn't well versed in all of them, but I did know an individual that with Terumo that I trusted, and I called him and had Joe hold on to the phone. We FaceTime. We went over the various products that were available, and then while Joe was holding the phone, I'm pulling products, opening the coils up, and we're collaborating, the physician, myself, Joe, as well as the sales associate on the other end.
Well, my job was to be the robot and holding the camera. That's all they trusted me for in this case.
But the outcomes were successful. And we couldn't do what my products were intended for unless we resolved the issue with the coils to prevent bleeding.
So I thought that was I had that firsthand experience. I mean, this is we have not yet caught up to technology, basically is what it comes down to. Right. What we feel comfortable with as human beings is just so down here when technology is already way up there. And Bill, any final thoughts on all of this?
Well, I guess we're a little slower because of the product we work with, the human beings. No, but it's fascinating what we can do with technology. I think we're on the way with that different type of monitoring that you spoke about. I guess the big thing with things like ECMO and all is getting the people who cannulate. That's the question I always had. People talk about having less trained or even non-surgeons trying to cannulate. I had done a talk on cannulation, and when you actually see the differences in anatomy and everything that can go wrong, it's hard to believe anyone else but a cardiovascular surgeon should be cannulating a patient for, especially in ECMO, when they may be pulseless. So under the worst conditions, you probably want to have the best qualified person now. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, how to improve the access.
No, I do. I mean, so let's just hypothetically say you have patient X, and patient X is dying, and without ECLS, patient X will definitely die, and you attempt to put the cannulas in, and they go retroperitoneal, and it doesn't work out, and patient X dies. Well, they had at least a chance because the cannulas might actually go in the right place, and patient X actually lives. So you have a known outcome, which is death, and then you have somebody putting cannulas in. I think they should be trained. I think
I've seen heart surgeons do it too.
Yeah, even heart surgeons
but I agree.
can go retroperitoneal.
Your point is correct. If I have my choices, I would rather be the ones putting it in, especially I'm going to be part of managing it, because there's just that feel. However, back to what we talked about earlier when we had our piloted ED ECMO institution program at a Northwest hospital we worked at, that Joe basically did all the education for, sent all the emergency room physicians that were either interested or coerced, because we definitely needed a number of individuals trained, and also pulmonary critical care, whether they wanted to be trained or not. Joe was institutional in getting that started, and how many times do we see them cannulating the wrong artery? It was
never.
I don't think it ever happened, even with somebody who was pulseless. So, that is a question and a problem you foresee. But Joe's point, as far as when you're dead, you're dead.
Okay.
What choice do you have?
Okay, look, I've got a little
other
bit
than
of life,
not doing it.
I've got a little bit of life left in me. All right,
Yeah.
It ain't much, but I got some. Okay,
Right.
If I end up going down on this floor right now, and you come over there to help me, and you trip and fall, and you break your leg and can't get up, and you do the same thing, and I'm left with those two to stick the tubes in, you know what? He can FaceTime, and he can put them in, because he's probably seen it enough times to do it.
He's seen it more than I have.
If I die anyway, at least he gave me a fighting chance.
I agree.
Try. The outcome is known. It's bad. So I'd rather you at least gave it a shot. Give me a shot.
I like the argument. I've heard some groups putting in smaller cannula to
Correct.
make it safer.
That
Like
was
15
the
French.
Absolutely, that was the other point I was going to make. Just get some partial support till
Yeah.
you can, and that was part of our program as well, because it's easier to put the smaller ones in, and then by then, depending on if it happens at 5 o'clock on a Friday in Houston, it is an hour and a half for me to get from one hospital to the other.
Yes.
And
Sure.
we maybe only be 20 miles apart.
And you can see the two of them together. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And partial support is better than no support. And those are, and that introduces a level of comfort for those physicians that aren't very, don't put cannulas in every day. I mean, but that I would say that we never had one out of, how many did they do? 40,
Yeah,
50?
at least.
Put it in the wrong place. We had about a 50-60% VV survival, but our VAs for arrest, we actually had two walk out.
Two major saves.
But we had 4 or 5 that became organ donors for whatever that's worth, but I mean, it helped somebody. I mean, they were brain dead, but everything else was alive. I mean, it was amazing. You'd see some of these hearts, stone heart on echo, and then a day later they're working, so.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting argument because you see some surgeons who want to get involved with it, and they start, and then they just get burnt out trying to manage like an ECMO program by themselves, coming in all hours of the night, cannulating.
No.
I turned it over to this guy.
It takes
literally, I turned over to him and the pulmonary critical care guys because the cardiologist didn't want to have anything to do with it.
And I don't do anything with it. I turned it over to that guy because they don't let me go in there very often. Listen, when they call me and say, "Hey, can you watch an ECMO?" I'll do it, but they're more scared than I am. I'm almost too. I think I have a little bit of early dementia. But listen, we're going to. I think we're going to call it a day. It has been truly a true privilege to meet you. It has been a true honor and privilege to have you here in our studio. Dr. Matoyer, the same. Mike Brown, and Mike Brodowski, thank you both so much for taking the time out of your Sunday to be here to do this. I think it brings a lot of value, and you all being here brings the most value of all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great program. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Let's not be strangers.
Yes.
Okay, be safe.
Continue. Thank you.
And everyone else on Web World, please take a look at our website in the next few days. I'll be putting the second half of 2019 schedule up. The evaluations will be up. You'll be able to fill those out. Please let me know what topics you would like to hear about, experts you would like to hear from. Get involved with us as well. Bill, please have your members call if they'd like to be a part of PerfWeb. They could do it just like you did it from the comfort of their office or their home office with baseball pictures behind them. It's great. But that's what makes this such a fun program, is that it is interactive. Everybody has discussions, and you can be part of this also, and part of essentially what I call the revolution in continuing medical education, with decreasing reimbursements, no CEU budgets, staffing issues, not being able to get away. And you want to watch a program that is not only required, but that is interactive, enjoyable, informative, educational, brings value to your practices. That's the goal. So thank you all. We'll see you next program.
Let's start with the basics. What's the goal of autotransfusion? The goal of autotransfusion is to return the highest quantity and quality of red blood cells to patients with the least amount of waste as quickly as possible. Take a look at what goes on inside an autotransfusion device. There are three categorically different methods of blood processing: passive cell salvage, which uses a Latham bowl, continuous cell salvage, and dynamic cell salvage, which is available only in the Outliers. Dynamic cell salvage uses algorithm-driven intelligent blood sensing to make micro-adjustments during processing in order to recover high-quality blood fast, automatically. How does it work? There are three things that distinguish dynamic cell salvage. First, there's the IntelliPath bowl. One bowl size works for most procedures. That may seem counterintuitive, but it's designed to work that way very effectively. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Autolog-IQ uses an adaptive two-stage fill process to get high hematocrit with less waste. It's a little like filling a soda glass. Pour it in all at once, and you know what happens. With the adaptive two-stage fill, the system does an initial fill. It pauses briefly to compact the red blood cells. Then it adjusts the second fill speed, slower for low hematocrit, faster for high. That way you keep more red blood cells and lose less into the waste bag. The third key feature is the pulse wash. See these little indentations? They are part of the IntelliPath bowl design. They disrupt the red blood cell pack during the wash, which helps optimize saline penetration for an effective wash cycle. The pulse wash makes the wash process more efficient by adjusting the saline volume, depending on the characteristics of the red blood cell pack. Each pulse volume is designed to help minimize red blood cell spillage. All this happens automatically. With the push of a button, you're providing high hematocrit and quality packed red blood cells for the patient with just one program. You might think that this intelligently calibrated process would be slower. Not so. The Autolog-IQ processing rate is approximately 3 minutes. Every now and then, you may have an exceptional case where you want to override the automated setting. No problem. Just press the setting you want for immediate override. The Autolog-IQ system consistently delivers high-quality blood product automatically. Simply genius.
The point-of-care program at Huntsville Hospital is approaching its 20-year anniversary. As we began to grow as a hospital and provide more complex services to our community, the need for point-of-care testing became very clear in our organization. Many of our departments consider the EPOT device to be crucial to their ability to quickly move their patients from entry to the hospital to procedural room. It helps them monitor the patient's status during their procedures and post-procedure, so it's very integrated into our entire continuum of patient care. If you have any patient population where blood management is crucial, then a point-of-care device is very useful in those types of settings. It can provide a quick result on a very small amount of blood, and that is really important in some of our patient population.
We are starting a new process where we're going to screen our patients on the floor for sepsis. The patient can look and actually feel okay. They will show us signs and symptoms of sepsis. So what we do when they show these signs, we get a lactate level.
Lactic acid is a product of the sepsis cascade. So with sepsis, the inflammatory light switch goes on, the cascade starts churning, and unfortunately, once it starts going, we have to stop it. It will not stop on its own. The faster the lab draw, the faster the lab results, the faster you can act on it.
The process in the lab is what the process is. It just takes a certain amount of time for the instruments to run those tests.
I mean, we're talking 30 minutes even on a stat because that's the process. That's just how long it takes. There's not really anything you can do about that. For every hour you wait to give an antibiotic, the mortality for that patient increases 8%. So now that we have the handheld device, the nurse can get those results within a few minutes, and we know how to treat that patient. If a patient is going into septic shock, we do not have minutes to spare. We have got to get it done quickly. So when you get the little beep from the epoch that says your results are in, you go with it. You don't even think twice about it. You're like, this is good. This is what I'm going to do for this patient. The next steps are clear.
I think our mortality on the initial floors dropped by almost 50% in the first 3 to 6 months. At this point, we're about hospital-wide. I think we'll be hospital-wide another 2 to 4 months. So this has become a huge program within our system.
Without the epoch device, it would really be hard for us to get everything done in the timely manner. So it's really helped us to get our program going.
I mean, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a medicine doctor, whether you're a dermatologist, you want to be able to do things in a timely fashion so that you can be most effective.
This really makes a difference in patient outcomes.